And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Meyer versus McDermott. Step forward, please.
Terry Meyer is suing student Elisa McDermott for vet bills and pain and suffering due to a dog attack. Elisa says Terry's dog attacked first.
Mr. Meyer, it is your claim that the defendant's dogs bit not only you, which was a minor injury,
right,
but seriously injured your dog.
Yes.
By biting your dog. You want the defendant to be responsible for all of the bills that you sustained as a result of this attack. Ms. McDermott says that the whole incident was your fault. So I'd like you to tell me where this happened, what time it happened, who else was present when it happened.
It happened on January 12th in our city park, and I walk my dog there every day, 3 times a day.
What kind of a dog do you have?
I have a little rat terrier husky mix.
How much does the dog weigh?
About 25, 30 pounds.
What time of the day were you walking?
6 o'clock, exactly.
Go ahead.
I got out of my truck and I walked down to the lake, and my dog was on a leash, and I felt the leash go all the way out, and I turned around and there was 2 dogs on my dog chewing on him.
Excuse me?
Don't speak until I get to you.
Okay, thank you.
I turned around and the dogs were chewing on my dog, and his leash broke. I ran over to my...
What kind of a lead was it? One of those that...
A little retractable on a little cord. But he's a little dog, and the dogs were chewing him up. I ran over there, and I jumped on the dogs. There was nobody around when I jumped down on the dogs. Then all of a sudden, I looked up, and she was standing there.
What kind of dogs were these?
One was a Rottweiler Black Lab mix, and one was a Chow dog. The Rottweiler had his jaws locked on my dog's behind, and I couldn't get him off. I screamed at the lady to help me get her dogs off of him if she couldn't get him off. So
Did she try?
She tried, but she couldn't get him off. I pulled the Rottweiler's jaws off my dog, and I got him off, and then I went to get the Chow off my dog, and the Rottweiler grabbed back a hold. So I was fighting with 2 dogs at the same time. I finally got the Chow off, and I went back to get the Rottweiler off. That's when I got bit in the thumb. I picked my dog up, and he was full of holes. I could almost reach inside of his stomach.
He had several surgeries?
Yeah, he had to go in surgery like 2 or 3 times.
Okay, how did you find Miss McDermott?
I searched everywhere. I couldn't find her after I took my dog to the vet. She was gone already. The police came there right away. They couldn't find her. Then the city newspaper printed it in the paper.
And you went into the police station?
Yes, I did.
Okay, good. Now let's go back to the 12th.
Okay.
At about 6 o'clock in the evening, you're walking your 2 dogs. One is a Rottweiler mix.
Yes, I have. Did you want pictures?
I'd like to take a look at them, please, Bird.
And I also have something from the vet, and I have his vet bill.
Want to tell me what happened with your dogs?
Okay,
on the 12th?
it was dark. It had just snowed quite a bit. We came around some evergreen trees, and I see a white, and I think it had some black on it, dog running at my dogs. So my dogs protected themselves. They did not attack his dog.
Were your dogs off the leash?
Yes, they were. And I paid the fine, and his dog actually was off the leash also.
I know, but unfortunately, his dog didn't bite yours, nor did his dog bite you.
He threw himself on his dog. My dogs didn't go after him.
All precipitated by the fact that there were dogs off the leash.
And actually, his dog did bite mine, but my dogs, as you can see in the pictures, have really thick fur.
I'm waiting for why you don't think you're responsible.
Because his dog wasn't on a leash, my dog wasn't on a leash. My dog did not attack his dogs, nor did they attack him.
Well, let me ask you this question. What efforts did you make to pry your dog away from his dog?
He ran about the same time I did. He threw himself on his dog, and I retrieved my dogs. He never tried to retrieve my dogs because he was laying on the ground over his dog.
What caused you to go to the police?
The first time I checked, there had been nothing said about it, and then friends of mine had read it in the newspaper. Because I walk all over town, everybody knows what dogs I have.
Now, Mr. Mayor, I have these vet bills, and is this correct that your total out-of-pocket expense for your dog was $304?
Exactly.
Okay. Is there any other evidence that you want to give me?
Yes, I have pictures of my dog.
I'd like to see them.
Here's one before. There's the dog after he was attacked, and me.
What did you do for the bite on your thumb?
I cleaned it up. I was so occupied with all this, I didn't have time to go to the doctor. This was a 17-day nightmare. I mean, my dog could hardly move. He couldn't do anything. I have...
Miss McDermott, is this the first summons you've received for letting your dogs be
Yes.
without a leash? Anything else?
Yes, Your Honor. I have her arrest. Well, she turned herself in, but they considered it an arrest
Can I see
paper.
that, sir?
And if her dog didn't bite before, why did she put her own dog to sleep?
Which dog did you put to sleep?
I put the chow to sleep.
Why?
Because when he was very young, I had problems between the two dogs. And what I felt about the incident was that Chewy is that's the chow that I put to sleep, is a very protective dog. He's not a vicious dog, he doesn't attack, but he was very protective of me. And I didn't want to have a situation where a young girl lost control or a young child lost control of their dog. It happened in another city.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Now, she put the chow to sleep, but the Rottweiler did all that damage. Those dogs were vicious. I mean, there was... And what if it was a little kid at the park? Because we live by a school.
Well, Miss McDermott then takes a serious risk. This is certainly some serious damage that was done to this dog, and this was done by the Rottweiler.
Yeah, most of it, just the puncture wounds on the back.
See, now I don't know how he can say he knows which dog gave, because he threw himself on the dog and it was screaming and excited and his dog ran at us.
He knows.
So
I put my hands in their mouth to pry them out. I know what dog they were.
He knows. Okay, so the pain and suffering that you're asking for
Yes.
is the pain and suffering for the dog.
Yes.
I don't know of any court that awards pain and suffering for the animal, sir. This clearly was a situation that was instigated, in my judgment, by her two dogs being off the leash. And I wish I had more confidence in the fact, Mr. Mayor, that your dog was on a leash.
Yes.
Do you understand what I'm
yes,
saying to
I
you,
do.
sir? I'm not so confident that when you let your dog out of the truck,
Right.
you weren't just going to go around the park comfortably like she was doing. That doesn't say that this should be the result.
Right.
So absolutely, Ms. McDermott has to pay for your vet bills. And I'm also sure that, are you a working man?
No, I'm disabled. I don't work. I spent 17 days taking care of this dog.
Oh, okay, because I was going to say you
Yeah.
would also be entitled to the time that you spent away from your job tending to the dog.
Yeah.
Taking the dog to the vet, but you are unemployed.
No,
So you're
I'm disabled. Yes.
Okay. So judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $304. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
$1,700 is excessive, I think, for pain and suffering when he had 6 vet bills.
I had a 12-foot leash. No, if the dogs weren't attacking my dog, you wouldn't have... No.
I actually agree with how she presented it. I think it should be taken a little different since they were both dogs involved, because dogs don't act like people.
Could have been a little kid, like I said. Her dogs were vicious. They should have both been put to sleep.
18-year-old customer service rep Stephanie Willis is suing her former friend, 17-year-old student Tiffany Thorpe, and her mother, Hannah Laura Rice, for the cost of 2 checks she cashed on Tiffany's behalf. Stephanie says the checks turned out to be stolen.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 472 on the calendar in the matter of Willis versus Thorpe. Parties have been sworn in, Judge.
Case. Because I read the complaint and the answer, and I found the facts, as presented by you two young ladies, to be fascinating. How are you related to her?
I'm her mother.
Why don't you have a seat for a minute, please? How old are you?
17.
Your mother's close enough, right? Mm-hmm. You don't feel threatened by me in any way, do you?
No, ma'am.
That's a big mistake. How old are you?
I'm 18.
And this is your?
Mother.
According to your complaint, Miss Willis, the defendant is a friend of yours.
An ex-friend, yes.
Well, she was a very good friend of yours. And somehow she gave you a couple of checks that she asked you to cash for her.
Right.
You went into the bank, you cashed the checks for her. According to you, you gave her the money with the exception of $50 that she had owed you from previously. And then you were notified that these were stolen checks by your bank, and your account was charged for the money, and you want her to pay you back.
I do.
Now, I couldn't quite get everything that you were saying, Miss Thorpe, but according to you, you had stolen the checks, but she stole them from you. 2 checks. And you have no idea what she did with those checks. Is that right?
That's right.
So why don't we start with a story like once upon a time. Once upon a time, I was driving in the car with my friend.
Well, no.
Then just tell me.
Okay.
Let's go. Once upon a time.
Okay, once upon a time, last May 23rd, we're at our graduation practice. She asked me if I could cash a couple checks for her, saying she did not have her ID, and I asked her if she had a bank account she could cash them out. She said she didn't. So, you know, she's a friend of mine. I did it.
When did she give you the checks?
When we were at the bank.
How did you get to the bank?
I drove.
And how did she get to the bank?
She drove.
So you park your car at the bank. We're going to follow this. You know, we're once upon a time. Now, we're once upon a time. You've gone from graduation into the car. She follows you to your bank. You park your car. She parks her car. And you walked up to her car.
I walked up to her car to get the checks. I sat down in her car. Then I went inside. And
So she handed you the 2 checks.
Right.
What did they say?
I didn't pay a lot of attention to what the checks looked like, to be quite honest. I did ask her where they're from, what they were for. She told me that they were back child support from her boyfriend's ex-wife.
At any time previous to going to the bank, did you discuss with her how much the checks were for?
I think I asked her when we got there. They're for $47 each, and I looked.
When you looked at the checks, was that the first time you saw what the amount was?
I don't remember whether I asked her at the graduation practice how much they were.
Well, you're not a stupid person, are you?
No, I'm not stupid. I honestly just
You're not
don't
a stupid
remember.
person because you have a bank account. How much money did you have in your bank account?
At the time, I had $603, and
So if somebody had asked you to cash checks for them in the amount of $2,000, you couldn't have done that, right?
Right, right.
So you had to have asked, well, how much are the checks for?
I don't remember. I was very naive. I didn't, at that point, I did
don't
not
look
know that you had
naive.
to have that much amount in your bank
Did you
to
hear what I
cash them.
said? You
Yeah.
don't look naive.
I don't look now, but I've learned a lot since then. I have.
You mean in the few short months you've learned a whole bunch?
Just about this, about cashing checks, about banks.
Where did you get your money from to put in the bank?
From my job.
What kind of job?
I worked at an ice cream parlor.
So you knew enough to open up a bank account? Did you open it up by yourself or
No,
with your
my
mother?
dad, I've had it since I was 13 years old.
Great.
My
So you
dad
know how
got
to
it
go
for me.
in there?
Right.
So you know how to make deposits? Did you ever withdraw any money from the bank?
I did. Yeah.
Make out a withdrawal slip.
Well, no.
You don't live on Mars.
I didn't. I never used a withdrawal slip at my bank. It was a savings account. All I did was give them my social security number, ask for the amount, and I had to sign.
So what were these 2 checks made out for?
$447.50 each. And the reason I believed her about the child support is prior to this, a month before, she told me she was expecting a check for about $500, and she told me that is what she was going to pay me my $50 back for.
You have a
This was
child?
the beginning of May.
No, I don't, Your Honor.
Well, what are these 447?
I have
And
copies of
shh.
it. I'm sorry.
What is this 447 child support? What is that about?
Your Honor, I have no idea.
No idea. You have a boyfriend who gets child support?
I do have a boyfriend, yes.
Does he get child support?
Yes, he does.
Why does he get child support?
Because him and his wife were separated.
How old is he?
32.
And he has a child that he has custody of?
Yes.
And how old are you?
17.
Who is this?
This is
I'm
my
the boyfriend.
You're the boyfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
How long has this been your girlfriend?
Just over a year.
Just over a year. You don't think she's a little young for you, do you?
I didn't plan it that way, Your Honor.
How much do you get in child support from your ex-wife?
About $50 a week. I have custody of both of my children.
$50 a week for each child?
No, ma'am.
Both?
Yes,
For both children? You get that by the month?
I get weekly. I get it weekly if she put
Let me see a
follows
copy of the
payment.
checks.
And it's usually in cash.
Your Honor, Eric was the person that the checks were stolen from. I was convicted and charged for checks
No,
already.
you were charged and convicted.
Charged and convicted for 3 checks prior. I had stole them. I went down to the police station.
Where did you steal them from?
I stole them from Eric,
Who is he?
an old friend
Of whose?
of mine and my mother's.
How did you get his checks?
I went over there one day and I found them laying outside next to his truck, like they had fallen out of his truck, and I picked them up.
Why?
Stupidity.
And what'd you do after you picked them up?
I had gone and cashed a few checks, and
How many did you cash?
I was charged with 3 of them.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Tiffany, that's her, you know, with the belly button showing, advised that Stephanie wanted $50 to cash them, and she was given that amount.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stephanie Willis says former friend Tiffany Thorpe owes for 2 checks she cashed on her behalf. Stephanie says the checks turned out to be stolen.
You walked into the bank, Miss Willis,
Right.
and you see these checks that are made out for $447.50.
Right.
They're not made out to anybody.
No, they were not made out to anybody. At the time I was having a conversation with the teller at my bank. I was in a hurry to get somewhere, but I asked him, I got up, going out to ask Tiffany to sign them and ask why they were not made out to anybody. I turned around at that point and asked him if it would be all right if I did it myself, or
Why?
if it would matter, because I was in a hurry to get to see someone.
You know, I don't
see
believe you
often.
either.
Huh?
I don't believe you either. I don't believe her, I don't believe you.
Okay.
Miss Willis, you want to know why it doesn't sound right to me?
Yes, I do.
She says, could you cash these checks for me? They're being given to my boyfriend from his ex-wife for child support. Then they would have been made out to him. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that out. Especially if you tell me that his name, Eric, is written on the bottom of the check. Did you write his name too?
No, I did not. Tiffany
So that
did.
was there.
Right.
Who wrote that?
Tiffany did.
Did you see that?
I did not, but I know her handwriting. I've known her for 4.5 years. And
So
I
you
her
know that this
handwriting.
is her handwriting?
Yes.
So now you know the
Look
following.
at the dotted
Now
I.
you know the following. You know that she forged his name,
Right.
and you knew that when you were at the bank.
No.
Oh, yeah, you
No.
knew of
Not
4
at
years
the
at
bank.
that point.
I'm sorry. Not at the bank. I was not aware of that. At
Why
the
not?
bank, I assumed. I did not know the circumstances following the checks, and I assumed that she had gotten it from a friend of hers or perhaps her lover. I did not ask, and I was not sure. But at this point, I knew Tiffany, and we were very good friends for 4.5 years. I had no reason not to believe her.
I'll hear you.
Well, on that day, we did go for my graduation practice, and we were sitting there, and Stephanie was sitting in the car, and I had the checkbook sitting there in the council, and she had asked me what it was, and I had told her that they were stolen checks. And then we went to the gas station.
When you say she asked you what they were and you said they were stolen checks, are you telling me that she didn't say, where did you steal them from? Whose are they? Nothing.
No, Your Honor.
She asked you nothing.
No. She just asked me what they were.
And you said stolen checks.
Yes, I told her.
Go
They were
ahead.
Stolen checks. We went to the gas station about 2 blocks away so I can get gas. And then I went inside to pay. When I came back out, she told me that she needed to be dropped back off at her car. So I dropped her back off at the car and I went home. And about a week later, she came knocking on my boyfriend's door and was talking to him about some sort of checks.
Step up.
Well, Your Honor,
Name.
my name is Timothy S. Brown.
Tell me about the conversation that you had with the plaintiff.
In May of 2000, Stephanie had stopped at my house on 3 different occasions. On the first occasion, she came in my home and told me that she had gotten some checks from Tiffany that were stolen. This is the time I just found out about the whole stolen check situation. We were only dating for a couple months at the time. She told me that she had gotten some checks from Tiffany and positive in her account, and that she said that Tiffany said they were for child support. I knew at that time that something was wrong because I get cash from my ex-wife.
Did you tell her that?
Yes, I did.
And what was her reaction?
All she said that she got the checks from Tiffany, and that Tiffany said they were for child support. And
Was she crying?
No, she was upset.
Was she
You know,
upset?
she was kind of scared because she told me that her mother, her parents were involved in the bank account somehow, and she wanted to get it taken care of before her parents found out about it.
So that was the first time she came
Right.
to your house. And then?
I talked to Tiffany about it. At this time, Tiffany was denying the whole thing to me because she didn't want me to find out about it.
So Tiffany lied.
She lied to me about it, yeah.
And then she lied to her mother too?
At the time, yes.
She lied.
You know.
Now, when she lied, did you believe her?
No, I was really skeptical about the whole thing, you know, from the start.
So initially, when she told you that she didn't know what this friend was talking
Right.
about,
I had my suspicions. I had contacted her mother to talk about the situation, to find out if she knew anything about it.
and her mother said,
No, she didn't. and reassured me that her daughter wouldn't do anything like that.
Okay. Step up a second. Sure. When your daughter told you what happened, she initially told you she didn't know what she was talking about. Is that right?
Well, when Stephanie came to me, and Stephanie told me a story that Tiffany gave her 2 checks and that they were for babysitting that Tiffany had done for somebody, and that she cashed those checks for Tiffany. But she didn't say anything about child support to me. She said it was babysitting money. That's what Tiffany had told her.
Is that right?
So,
I don't remember telling her that.
Your Honor, we have in a police report statement here, it's the statement that Tiffany had made to the police.
Let me see it. You told the police that you gave her 2 checks, madam. You told the police that you gave her 2 checks to cash.
No, Your Honor, I did not.
Your name is Tiffany, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Tiffany advised that she had given 2 checks to a Stephanie Willis for her to cash. You mean the police made a mistake?
When I went and confessed to the police officers that I had taken the checks from Eric, they had asked me, but Stephanie's checks were not in the bunch, because the checks had never cleared his bank.
I'm asking you a question. The police wrote this down. Tiffany advised that she had given 2 checks to Stephanie Willis for her to cash. Is what you're telling me that the police either mistakenly wrote this down or that you lied to the police?
I told the police officers that I had not given Stephanie any checks
so
to
that,
cash.
according to you, the police officers wrote it down wrong. Put your hand down. The police officers wrote it down wrong.
Obviously, yes, Your Honor.
Listen to this, Bert. You have to listen to this. This officer who took this report from this 17-year-old psychopath must have been doing something that day to make himself feel happy, because he too is writing a once-upon-a-time story, according to her. Let me tell you what else he wrote. Reporting officer asked Tiffany about the 2 checks that she gave to Stephanie Willis. Tiffany advised that the 2 checks were for $447.50 each. Tiffany, that's her, with the belly button showing. Tiffany advised that she filled out the checks but left the pay to blank. Tiffany advised that she had Stephanie put her name in the blank. Tiffany advised that Stephanie cashed the checks and gave her the money. Tiffany, Miss Exposed Belly Button, advised that Stephanie wanted $50 to cash them, and she was given that amount.
but
The $50, which...
Shut!
Okay.
Is she getting therapy? Is she in therapy and counseling?
After all this happened, I had 3 counselors involved, as a matter of fact.
Does she live at home with you?
Yes, she does now.
And what about him?
Well, actually, let me tell you the whole story.
Dying to hear this story. I thought this was easy.
Actually, I was very much against this relationship because of
That's
the
a very
great
good
age
thing.
difference. And at one point, I even got the authorities involved. I called social services, got a counselor involved, and I tried everything in my power to keep them apart. The only thing that accomplished is put a wedge between my daughter and my relationship. So I decided the worst thing that I could have done was to try to interfere with that relationship. And so I choose not to any longer interfere with it at all.
Okay. Now, but she's living at home?
Yes.
What about him?
He is staying there temporarily
At
with
your
his
house?
2 children, yes, actually.
There's one thing about not interfering, and there's another thing, and, she's 17 years old.
Right.
I don't believe her mother is responsible for this $950.
Correct.
And since she's 17 years old, I cannot find her liable. Do you understand that?
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand? The only way that I can find her liable is if I make her mother responsible. She is, I believe you. I believe that you got suckered in by her. And I believe that she is a liar. I believe that she continues to lie. I believe that she's probably in a relationship that she shouldn't be in. I believe that her mother is caught between a rock and a hard place. But I think that her mother being caught in a rock and a hard place does not put her mother in a position where she is responsible for the forgery and the theft by her daughter to you. Because I, too, believe that you have had a certain responsibility, and that was to be a little more vigilant. Not put your name on these checks when it was clear that they couldn't have been for child support, because child support checks would have been made out to him for the 2 children, not
I
blank.
had no experience with that.
Not
the story
blank.
she gave me, I had no reason.
Well, you
not
should have
to
been more
trust her.
vigilant.
I
Certainly
should
her
have.
mother couldn't.
I should
Certainly
have.
her mother could not have known.
Right.
And in order for me to find in your favor against this side of the table, I have to rule that her mother is responsible for paying you back. And I cannot in good conscience do that.
Neither could I.
I can't hold her responsible. She's 17. I mean, I wish I could, but I can't. So you're going to have to cover these checks yourself and be a little more vigilant. I feel sorry for you. I really do. I really don't know what I would do in your situation.
It's a difficult situation. I didn't know what else to do either. And I just hope that they will straighten out the problems that they've had in the past.
These 2 girls aren't going to straighten out their
Right.
problems. As far as these 2 people are concerned, 3 years from now, they won't be talking about each other because he won't be around.
That's what I
But
figured.
she'll be probably around with her own baby that you're going to have to take care of.
Well, hopefully
That won't happen.
Hopefully. Well,
And-
why?
Because I wouldn't leave her like that.
You
I'm
wouldn't.
a good father.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell me that you took care of it so that you couldn't have any more
I'm a-
children.
I'm
2
a-
was enough.
I'm a good father.
Goodbye.
All these are
Thank you,
excused.
John.
You may step out.
She was on drugs, crack cocaine. I know that for a fact.
She was on drug use too.
Everything about her changed after she started smoking.
She has been numerous times coming to me asking for drugs.
I did not know they were stolen checks.
Who would put their own name on a check? She knew that they were stolen.
I had to pay that off myself with my own money out of my own pocket.
I got, just like her mother, got caught in the middle of all of it with the lies and the deceit and, the drug use and everything between everybody. It was a crazy situation.
This isn't the end of it.
And now the next case.
All parties on Fajardo versus Bogert. Step forward, please.
22-year-old student Sonia Fajardo is suing her ex-girlfriend, 28-year-old student Christina Bogert, for unpaid loans to get back on her feet. Christina says they were in love and the money was never a loan.
Ms. Fajardo, it is your claim that the defendant owes you some money as a result of a loan. And this loan was made to the defendant while you were dating. Tell me about the loan.
Well, when we first started dating, I was in Orlando, and I moved down to Miami to start school. And when we were dating, it was long-term, and I wanted her to move down with me, and she also wanted to live down there with me as well. She did have lots of bills that, after September 11th, as a server, you don't make that much money when people don't go out to eat.
You were working in a restaurant.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. So the plan was that she would move in with me. She was living in my dorm room. She didn't have to pay for rent, utilities, anything like that. No food, because we had the cafeteria. I mean, no bills, and she could save the money, pay me back, and pay the rest of her bills. And when she moved down, everything was fine until people found out on campus. And obviously, that's against the rules, so it was either she move out or
You mean against
both.
the rules for her to live in the dorm room and eat in the
Yes.
cafeteria as a non-student?
Yes.
So, I mean, that's
Yes.
logical. People pay a lot of money for that.
Yeah, and since we were sort of desperate, my friend was renting a room, and when she moved down there, she was still not making enough. So she was
To what?
changing jobs.
She wasn't making enough to pay for what? She didn't have any expenses.
Well, she has a car payment and credit cards that she had to pay, and she wasn't able to pay it, and she needed to borrow some more money so that she could live in my friend's apartment. But I only had $200 at the time, so I lent her $200 and then the rest later. But throughout this whole time, she always would say, I'm going to put that money back in your account.
You didn't talk in terms of repayment. It's later on that she said, I want to repay you.
Yes.
So the original money that you laid out for her was not a loan. It was, come down here because we can be together. That's what you're telling me. It was she who then said at some point, as soon as I get on my feet, I'll put this money back in your account. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Well, that's not a loan. Because she says there was never a loan.
But she also asked me, though. I mean, it wasn't just an offer. She asked me, and I said, okay.
You said okay.
To lend her the money.
Even if you said you'll pay me back when you can. That's a possibility, right?
Possible, yes.
Right? If you have that kind of need to be with each other, then you don't start talking about these financial arrangements when you're going to start paying me back on the 1st of September, $50, and every 15th and the 1st of the month thereafter. You didn't have that conversation. That's what a loan is. At least if you make a loan and this is what you owe. This is how you're going to pay it back. This is when you're going to pay it back. That's a contract. It's not a contract, Ms. Fajardo, when you say, here's the money, pay me back when you can.
It wasn't when you can, it was when she moved down, she was supposed to pay me back, and she never paid me back. that was a plan for her to pay me back.
Okay. Now, was that your plan?
No, as far as I'm concerned, it wasn't a
Not
loan
as
at
far
all.
as you're concerned.
Oh.
Was that your plan, is what I asked you, Miss Bogart, to pay her back? She's the student, you're the worker.
I paid for everyday incidentals. I mean, I was making cash daily as a server. So we'd go out to eat, we'd go out entertainment at night and everything like that, and I paid for that. When it came to paying for bills that needed, you know, signing off on a check, I didn't have a checking account. So that's where she came in, and she made out the actual checks. I, on the other hand, paid for, you know, daily expenses. It was a mutual agreement. We were in a relationship. She paid for things, I paid for things. It was never
How
loan.
long did you stay in her dorm room?
I'm not sure, a couple months? I'm not exactly sure.
About a month and a half.
And how many times did you take her out to dinner?
Enough. More than 10 times, less than 100.
We went out to dinner once, and I put it on my credit card to actual dinner. The rest was going to maybe Taco Bell or Burger King.
That's still dinner.
What money did you advance her, Ms. Fajardo?
I advanced her $500.
For what?
Her car payment.
$500. What else?
There was a speeding ticket that she had gotten for $147.
Go ahead, what else?
With the citation.
What else?
And then rent.
What rent?
For the
$200?
$200 and then $250.
She also lived in that apartment with me.
I lived in my dorm room. I never gave up my dorm room.
I don't care whether you gave up the dorm room. Did you ever sleep in another apartment that she was living in?
Yes.
Forget it.
But I was not living there. I lived on campus the whole time.
All of this was gifts to you by someone who was sort of smitten, and there was never an agreement or an understanding that when you could, you would start paying her back. That's what you want me to
Well, it was a
believe.
relationship. I mean, we did things for each other. I mean, it wasn't like a business.
So far, I haven't heard anything that you did for her. Only that she did for you, financially. I'm talking about only financially.
Well, just because she has the documentation for it, because she had the checking account. I, on the other hand, because I was a server, only had cash. I don't have any...
That's a very, very smart thing. A server should have a bank account. She has the documentation because she provided the money. And it is my belief that you are responsible to repay her this money, even though she did it in sort of a sloppy way. I believe it was the intention of both parties at the time that she advanced this money for you to begin to pay it back at some point. You seem to think you don't have that obligation. I believe you do. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,294. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She only wanted money from me after we broke up.
I had been asking her the whole time to pay me back.
Then all of a sudden it came about that I owed her so much money.
It's just been a struggle financially.
When it was just a relationship and we shared things.
Oh, it definitely wasn't that.
I don't feel like it was I owe you, you owe me.
I've been waiting for her to return the money I loaned to her.
We just did things together, and whoever it came from, it didn't matter.
This entire thing was a betrayal.
She got angry and she took revenge by taking me to court.
I just want to move away and move on.
I mean, we probably could have worked things out a little bit more amicably, in my opinion.
You can help a person as much as long as it has nothing to do with money, because it ruins friendships.
22-year-old daycare provider Christina Harding is suing her former roommate, 23-year-old real estate agent Charity Zymet, for unpaid rent and bills after she broke the lease.
All rise, please. Your Honor, this is case number 129 on the calendar in the matter of Harding versus Zymet.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats, please.
Ms. Harding, you and the defendant signed a lease for a house.
Yes.
It's a large house. You were the only two people on the lease?
Yes.
You moved into the house with your boyfriend?
Yes.
Boyfriend.
Yep.
Ms. Zymet moved in with her two children.
Yes.
And there was someone else living in the house, too?
Yes.
Who was that?
Her witness, Jolene.
Ms. Zymet moved out early.
Yes.
And you believe that she should be responsible for the 7 months that was remaining on the lease.
Yes.
Ms. Zymet says that she was forced out because of assaultive behavior by both you and your boyfriend.
Yes.
Okay. When did you sign the lease?
November 1st,
Of what year?
2001.
Did you know each other before you signed the
Yes.
lease? For how long?
Since the 9th grade, about 1994.
So you've known each other a long time?
Yes.
Was there any reason why your two names were the only names on the lease?
We were going to move in with another girl that backed out at the last minute, and that's when we had decided to let Jolene move in.
And what about your boyfriend?
He just never signed the lease. It was just between the
Why?
two of us. I don't know. We just never had put him on it.
But he actually moved in.
Yes.
What was the total rental on the house?
$1,600.
And what was the defendant's responsibility on the lease?
$550.
I'm going to go to you, Miss Emmett. When did problems arise that you say caused you to move out?
Well, problems arose as soon as we moved in. She was, in my opinion, acting jealous over me and Jolene talking. She would slam doors around. She was just not making it comfortable to be there at all. And then every week it seemed like there was something different that happened. You know, at the beginning of January when she shoved me into a gate, which I have a picture of a bruise that she left on my back.
Well, tell me about that. What?
Well, it was New Year's Eve. I happened to leave them at the club, not purposely.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, we were at a dance club.
Who was?
Drinking. All of us. And we all left, and I was supposed to bring 2 people home, which I didn't. Not on purpose. No. Not on purpose. Didn't bring them home, which included Jolene and Archie's sister.
You all went to a dance club.
Right.
You were supposed to take 2 people home.
Right.
Jolene and the boyfriend's sister.
Yes.
You didn't do that.
Right.
You say you didn't do that on purpose.
Right.
Because she was highly intoxicated.
You did it. It was accidental.
Right.
But something happened when you got home?
Right. As soon as I walked out of the garage, she came running at me and pushed me into the gate, and the gate handle left a bruise on my back.
And you say you have photographs of it?
I have a photograph, yes.
That's not true, Your Honor.
I'll get to you in a second.
It's hard to see, but you can see.
Okay. Go ahead.
Then the very next weekend, on a Saturday, we were all at the house drinking after the, just having a little party at the house after the bar. And
after what bar?
After just the bar on a Saturday night, you know. We're just,
so you went to a bar Saturday night and you were drinking?
Right, all of us.
And then you came home and you continued to drink?
Right.
Where were your 2 children when all this drinking was going on?
My children were with their father.
Do they live with their father on the weekends?
Well, it was every other weekend.
Go ahead.
And Archie was, you know, intoxicated. He was yelling at his sister. Me and Jolene were sitting in the kitchen, and we just really didn't want to hear it, you know, like yelling and stuff. So I stood up. I said, it's okay. That's all I said. He started cursing at me and proceeded to throw me across the kitchen. And when I got up, I was crying. And when I was walking away, he poured his beer down my hair. I did call the cops, which I have records of that.
You just have a record that you called the police. You don't have a report.
Right. Here's what happened after I called the cops. I was upstairs in my room when I called the cops. And when they got there, I didn't realize I was upstairs, couldn't hear nothing. And then her and all his family came upstairs to ask me if I called the cops, but they said it.
That is not true.
You didn't call the cops, did you?
I'll get to you in a second.
You didn't call the cops, did you? And I didn't realize the cops were standing right down the hallway, so I said no because I didn't, want to say to them.
All right. So those were the 2 instances that you're complaining about that caused you ultimately to move out?
Them are the 2 biggest ones, yes.
You're Archie.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you pour a beer on her?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
I figured you did. Why?
Because I thought that she interfered with something that didn't really have to do with her. She was not in the same room like she said she was when my sister and I had gotten into an argument. We were just talking, just how brother and sister normally do. And she came out of the kitchen, started yelling at us, started swearing at us. She started chewing me out, saying I didn't have no business talking to my sister like that. My sister had said some pretty offensive things to some people.
Okay, so she just came out and she was yelling at you?
Yes.
And what did you do?
I asked her if she could please, get away from our conversation. I was talking to my sister. I didn't think she had any business being there. She kept on insisting on trying to get in between us, trying to push us apart from each other. It wasn't getting physical. It wasn't getting very loud. We were just having a few words, and she intervened.
She's intervening in a family situation. So what did you do?
So I asked her on several occasions.
You told me you asked her to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Move out.
Both
Go.
I asked her on several occasions to please sit down, please leave us alone, we're trying to talk.
All right, so you asked her, and she didn't.
She did not.
What happened next?
Then she pushed me.
She pushed you.
She
How did
pushed
she
me
push
back.
you?
She pushed me by my chest like this.
You mean she put her hands on your chest and pushed you?
Yeah, she put my hands on my chest, yes.
Yes, and what did you do?
I just dumped my beer on her after that. I got frustrated that the fact that she would not, quit talking to me and my sister. I was trying to have a conversation.
Did you push her
with my
back?
sister. No, I did not.
You just poured your beer on her?
I just poured my beer over her head, yes.
And at that point you were angry?
I was a little upset.
Put your hand down.
I was a little upset, Your Honor. I was not angry. I work at a high stress level job. I don't get angry.
Archie, was it becoming increasingly unpleasant living in the house with the defendant?
Yes, it was, Your Honor.
It was very unpleasant. It was unpleasant for you?
Yeah, it was pretty unpleasant.
Was it unpleasant for you?
Yes.
Good. So that you were not unhappy when she left?
Not necessarily.
Good.
Well, I had tried to work things out with her. I tried to sit down and talk to her a number of times.
Once she has a fight with your boyfriend, you're not working things out with her.
It was before that also.
Once she has a fight with your boyfriend, you're not working things out with her.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She and our other roommate had brought numerous guys over that all had baseball bats and shovels and jumped my boyfriend. He ended up going to the hospital with 8 staples in his head.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Christina Harding says former roommate Charity Zymet owes for breaking a lease. Charity says she feared for her safety.
Now, you moved out in January?
Yes. Well, I paid January's rent, full January's rent, but I moved out at the beginning, but I still had some stuff there until the end of January.
Okay. Is that true?
No, she did not move out. She put a padlock on her door, and she would come every day, pick up a little of her stuff, and go.
Well, that's what she says. She says she moved out, but she left her stuff there
yes,
through the end of the month.
And she did pay the end of January.
And she did pay January's rent.
Your Honor, she did not move out. She was there just about every night of the week.
Fine, but she paid January.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Come February, is she gone?
Yes, she was gone the end of January, but she had not given me any notice.
If you think that I don't see your hand, I do see your hand. I'm not interested in asking you any questions right now.
Your Honor, I asked her numerous times when I could plan on her moving out so that I could find another roommate.
Okay, so now you know at the end of January she's gone. What did you do to find another roommate?
I had asked her numerous times throughout January when she would be out so that I could find another roommate.
Listen, you're not listening to my question.
Your Honor, she was...
I said now you know at the end of January she's out. What did you do then to get another roommate?
I had another roommate set up to move in on March 1st. And she and our other roommate brought numerous guys over that were related to Jolene. And they all had baseball bats and shovels, and they jumped my boyfriend. He ended up going to the hospital with 8 staples in his head. And that caused my roommate not to move in. She was scared to live with us.
And when did that happen?
On February 3rd. I have pictures and hospital reports of what happened.
Is anybody arrested?
No, it's still pending investigation.
It's a pending criminal investigation.
So I could not get a police report. It's not been released yet. You're talking to a homicide investigator.
Did she move out too?
No,
after that night, after February 3rd.
Okay.
Earlier that night at the club, she was trying to fight with me. My boyfriend stepped in the middle of us. She broke a beer bottle over the side of his head. And so then the bouncers jumped on her, took her out of there. He was trying to press charges. They said she was going to detox. She showed up at the house within an hour. And then within an hour after that, there was about 8 to 10 guys. They were about to break the window to get in the house when my boyfriend opened the door. They pulled him outside. They all had baseball bats and shovels. He was beaten pretty bad, as you can see in those pictures. His cousin and his sister also ran out there and were pretty beaten up too.
What makes you think that the defendant had anything to do with this?
Because I saw her driving away from there after the guy. She was sitting there on the street in her car when this was all going on. After the police were starting to come, she backed around the corner of the block.
After she supposedly moved out of the house, Your Honor.
You mean on February 3rd?
Yeah.
Yes.
This young lady was with her in the car?
She was in one of the cars. She had gone out the side entrance and she had gotten into a car somewhere else when all this had happened. She must have got in the car before that. When I saw Charity back down the street, she was in the car by herself.
When was the lease up in the apartment?
It's not up until August 31st.
Who's living in the house now?
Just the 2 of us. We have still yet to find a roommate.
Where are you living now?
I own a house. I had just moved out from my kids' father for a short period of time.
Go back. You're living in a house that you own?
Yep.
When did you purchase the house?
August of 2001.
If you purchased the house in August of 2001, what were you living with them for?
There was problems between me and my kids' father, so I decided to move out for a short time.
So you're back in that house now?
Yes.
Who are you living there with?
My children and my kids' father.
Were you at the house? I'm not going to ask any questions about that. That's part of a pending criminal investigation, so I'm not going to ask any questions about where you were on February 3rd.
Your Honor?
What?
I had an apartment with my boyfriend before. I decided to move in with her and another friend that was going to be getting a divorce from her husband. and she decided to stay with her husband. We were fine in the apartment we had. I decided I wanted to help her out because she wanted to get away from her kids' father. She was dating my boyfriend's friend at the time, and she wanted to get out of that house. She wasn't planning on going back there.
Okay,
she signed the lease till August 31st.
Did you speak to the landlord before you moved out?
Yes, I did. Quite a few times. He told me he would take me off the lease, and that's where I was renting from.
I never received another lease.
Were you in fact removed from the lease?
Well, he kept saying he was...
Not well. The answer is either you were removed from the lease or you were not.
Yes, definitely.
Show me.
I don't have any proof. He lives in another state.
Well, you have no proof, then it wasn't then. The only lease that I have is the one that you originally signed.
Well, I spoke to him on the phone quite a few times, and he told me that he would take me off, that he did take me off.
I don't listen to what you tell me. That is hearsay. If you have a lease or a document from the landlord that indicates that you were removed from the lease and your obligations under the lease have been terminated, I will see that. You don't have that. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, what efforts did you make to try to find a new roommate to assume your responsibilities under the lease?
It was not my responsibility to find a new roommate.
No, whose was it? Bird's? Whose was it?
Well,
you have a lease.
Correct.
You have an obligation under the lease.
Yes.
Ordinarily, I would say that they have an obligation to mitigate their damages.
Well,
which
she told
I'm
me...
speaking. I want you to try to learn something today. Every day should be a learning experience.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Christina Harding says former roommate Charity Zymet owes for breaking an apartment lease. Christina also claims Charity sent friends to beat up her boyfriend, Archie White Eagle.
Listen to me. They have an obligation, if they know that you're moving out, to try to mitigate their damages by finding someone to assume the remainder of your lease. Unless I find that there is some evidence that you and your girlfriend over here have done something that would make it difficult for them to find a new roommate. You also have a responsibility, because if you sign a lease and if you move into a home with the understanding that neither of you could afford this on your own, but together you could afford to maintain a big house like this, then you have a responsibility not only to your landlord, but also to your co-tenant. So I'm asking you, you did not do anything to find another roommate?
Well, she, at first we did agree about a 2-month notice of getting out. Now, I don't know why she's going for the whole lease. I think she's just upset that the person did not move in, which I do not know the person that was going to move in. But Jolene does. She said that she didn't want to move in the first place. She was just saying she was going to move in to be nice. And this is all what she told Jolene. She said she was never planning on moving in.
Then find somebody. And I'm asking you, what efforts did you make to find somebody? And if your answer is simple, you made no effort to find anybody. Is that right?
Correct.
Good. Listen to me. It was not a pleasant situation living there in the house, clearly. Everybody made a mistake, and everybody's got a bad temper. You had no right to pour beer over her head.
Correct.
None. And she had, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, if she was a reasonable parent, which I'm not so sure about, a lot of drinking going on there, even if her children weren't home.
And her children were there every weekend.
Are you trying to talk over me?
No, I'm sorry.
Good. So I think it's probably a very good idea that she left. Now, are you current in your rent?
Yes.
How are you managing it?
It's really hard.
Do you
I
work?
have tried to start daycare, and I haven't gotten very many children because of the pending investigation, and my boyfriend has been picking up just about most of the rent.
What kind of work do you do?
In security.
Okay, so you've been paying the rent.
Yeah.
Now, when you moved into the house, did you put down security?
Yes.
How much?
I put down 1,000, Charity put down 600, and I have lost that now.
Why?
The landlord said since she moved out, she forfeited her part of it, and...
Oh, no. Don't give me baloney. Security deposit is for any damage that's done. So you don't forfeit that until you move out.
That's just what the landlord said, and I'm going
and you
to
only
fight
forfeit that if you move out and there's damage to the property. Is there damage to the property?
Yes, I have pictures of how she left her room also. Holes in the walls and trash all over.
Well, trash it and clean up.
Yes.
Holes in the walls is different.
Well, we had to pay for that trash to get hauled away also, Your Honor, out of our own pocket.
Arch, is there anything physically wrong with you?
No.
You had to pay somebody to sweep up?
No, I said we had to physically pay to remove all of her trash that she left
When
there.
you say physically pay, what does that mean,
We had to pay
Archie?
the trash.
We had to pay the trash bill to have all of that stuff all the way.
No, that's not a big deal. We're not looking at a big deal here. Listen, Miss Zimet, you skipped out on a lease, and you had no reason to skip out on that lease, as far as they're concerned.
And as far as they're concerned, I guess not. In my mind, I did.
You're not speaking for a very good reason, madam. You're not speaking because there is currently an investigation that is pending with regard to a very serious assault. And I don't want to hear you because I don't want you to inculpate yourself or anyone else in this incident that occurred on February 3rd.
There's other incidences that happen, though.
But I'm not going to let you pick and choose what you want to talk about.
Okay.
Perfect. Now we understand each other? Good. She has a $600 security deposit. I suggest you putty up the walls so that you don't lose that part of the security deposit. She moved out, she paid January, February, March, April, May, June, July. Is that right?
August.
No. August will be covered by her security deposit. I will prepare an order that her security deposit is to be released to you. Okay. Do you understand?
Yes.
That covers your last month's rent. So it's 6 months at $550 is $3,300.
I also have bills that she didn't pay for December and January.
What bills?
The trash bill of the electric bill, the water bill, and the cable bill.
Good. Consider that paid for by the dumping of the beer over her head. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,300. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Very vindicated. Feel that Judge Judy was on her side and that she sided with the correct side and that she made the correct decision.
I don't agree with the judgment.
I will choose my friends and my roommates very wisely from now on.
I think she shouldn't have got anything.
She's been telling people lies about me.
All the lies she said in there?
The things she said in the courtroom that my boyfriend pushed her, that I pushed her. That's not true.
That they didn't push me? That they both didn't push me when they both did?
I've never laid my hands on her.
They're rude. They're physically violent.
It's not true.
Nobody should be friends with her.
I just moved in that house to help her out, and now I'm the one suffering for it.
We weren't that great of friends for 9 years.
Be respectful to Judge Judy. She's pretty okay.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Burdock versus Mayo, step forward, please.
21-year-old student Jessica Burdock is suing her former friend, 20-year-old cashier Jennifer Mayo, for shooting her in the face with a pellet gun. Jennifer says Jessica asked her to do it.
Ms. Burdock, the defendant is a friend of yours, or was a friend of yours.
Was.
And she shot you in the face.
Yes, she did.
With a pellet gun.
Mm-hmm.
Could you step up here? I'd like to look and see where the mark is from that.
I have this scar and an indent in my gum.
Well, the indent in your gum you don't see. Let me see the scar outside.
And no feeling in 2 teeth.
Okay, step back. I'd like you to tell me when this happened and under what circumstances.
It happened last year, July 7th, I believe. And we were trying to wake him up, and then we brought him.
Let's start from where were you?
We were at my apartment.
How many people were there?
4 of us.
Did you all live together?
Joe and I did, and we had another roommate, and she was over visiting us.
Go ahead.
And we were looking for cameras to go get developed that day, and she found Joe's pellet gun. And she played around with it, and she pointed it at my face. And I said, "Don't point that at me." And she said, "Well, it's never loaded." And she shot it.
No.
Shut up. Don't speak. Don't speak.
And I remember my hair went flying, and I had this really bad sting, and I covered my mouth. And she was like, "Did that hurt?" And I moved my hand, and there was just like blood pouring out, and I started screaming and crying. And
what kind of medical treatment did you need?
I went to the hospital in the ambulance, and then they said that the pellet was lodged too far in my gum to be taken out, so I had to go have oral surgery.
Can I see your medical bills, please?
I also have a picture. There's a police report there also.
Take it away, Miss Mayo. Let's hear you now.
Okay, we had woke up that morning and we had started cleaning her apartment because she had her DHS lady coming to check on the apartment to see if it was all in order. So we were cleaning, and I picked up this pellet gun and said...
What'd you pick it up for?
All of our friends in previous days had passed around the gun to feel the CO2 pressure That is what I knew it as, a CO2 gun. I had no idea it could carry anything else but CO2.
Shh. Did you hear what I said? So, how old are you?
20 years old.
So you picked it up?
Yes.
How big is this gun? Where was it? Where did you have to get it from in order to pick it up?
It was on a table.
Go ahead.
And so I said, this is CO2 pressure. You want to feel what this is like? And she said, no. I said, well, it's not loaded. It can't carry anything but CO2. And so I said, here, you want to feel this? And she said, okay, go ahead. And so, and does it hurt? Oh, my God. And we were both hysterically crying.
Miss Mayo, that is such a crock that you just gave me. I believe that this was an accident. Listen to me. I believe that this is an accident, which is your defense, that it was an accident, that you didn't know that it was a pellet gun. But let's examine the circumstances of what you did. You picked up a gun like an idiot. You weren't sure what it was, like a fool. You pointed it at someone like a moron. And then you said to another human being who's a friend of yours, you want to see how this feels. She's smart enough to say, no. That's what you said. Then you fudged it a little, because then she said, all right, go ahead. Shoot me, pointing it at her face. That didn't happen. Didn't happen. No, that didn't happen. What happened was she said no, and you were fooling around because you really didn't think that it had a pellet in it. And even if you did think that it was more than that, you had no intention of hurting her. Who should pay these bills?
I have no problem paying these bills.
Good. Oh, perfect. So then what are we doing here? Good. You do something irresponsible, you have to pay. Our medical bills are $1,278 for your stupidity. I'm tacking on another $2,000. $3,278. That's all. Step out.
Thank you.
These are excused. You may step out.
She is very irresponsible. She is selfish. She only thinks about herself. That's all she cares about.
She said, okay, you know, let me feel what it feels like.
Zola's at home, loaches off of everybody. You don't know that, honey.
Oh, yes, I do.
Oh, no, you don't.
They were shooting themselves in the mouth. They felt it on their face.
I was never around. That did not happen that day. I've never seen them do that. But she knows that was a pellet gun.
She lies about, okay, I have 4 tattoos and only has 1.
About time that she faced up to some responsibilities instead of screwing over all of her previous friends.
72-year-old Mary Jenkins is suing her daughter, youth counselor Mary Lynn Fowler, and her husband William Fowler for the cost of a trip to Hawaii.
Order. All rise. Yes,
defendant is your daughter.
I gave birth to her, yes.
And the co-defendant, your son-in-law.
Yes.
According to your complaint, you believe that your daughter and son-in-law owe you for their share of a trip that you took to Hawaii.
Yes.
You asked your daughter to join you so that she could help you with your wheelchair and getting around, and you agreed to pay for her.
Yes, I did that.
She wanted her husband to go along. You said you couldn't pay for him.
Yes.
Or would not pay for him, and she agreed to pay for him.
Right.
So you say that they owe you some $3,000 for the trip.
Well, there was more than that. I gave her the number to my credit card that she could use over the telephone, and so she charged up a lot of things for where we got started. Told her she could charge a car payment, utility bill, cellular one, Geico.
So a lot of other of their personal charges that they placed on your credit card.
Yes.
Can I see the list of credit card charges that you think that they owe you, Ms. Jenkins?
Do you also want to see where on a different credit card I paid for everybody?
Yes. Okay, so you paid for everybody's ticket and the hotel, but that you had agreed to pay for except for his ticket.
Right, and hotel. That's $800 and some for the whole thing. It was a package deal.
$25.33.
Yes.
I'm really more concerned about this credit card, $3,670.
I'm concerned about that too.
Well, tell me what your interpretation was of the agreement that you had with your mother when you went, and the bills that you paid from her credit card.
When this came about, Ms. Jenkins had said that she wanted to take a trip to Hawaii, and she was quite ill. She had emphysema, and that this might be the last chance she'd get to see Hawaii. She'd been there several times, and she knew that I had never been to Hawaii, and she also, we'd only been married a short time, and we didn't have a honeymoon, and she needed a caregiver, and my husband was a medic while he was in the service, and she felt that between the two of us, we could help her get around. But she also wanted to give it to us as a honeymoon present.
Is that what she said?
That's what she said. A honeymoon present that she was paying for 2/3, we would pay 1/3.
Or why would we go?
Just a minute. Go ahead.
Okay, and so I told her, I kept saying, no, we can't afford this. We just put a new roof on our house. We bought this older home that we were restoring. I had used both of our vacation time to go to my son's wedding in March in Kansas City. I had flown back to Maryland for my birth of my... I know, but there was no way we could afford to do this.
Okay.
I said, you know, if we're both missing a week of work, we can't pay our monthly payments. And she said, well, she had several credit cards with a zero balance, that she would be able to handle it.
As a loan or as a gift?
As a loan.
So some of your monthly expenses, in addition to 1/3 of the cost of the trip.
Right.
Okay.
Because I haven't been a part of Miss Jenkins' life, but the last 24 years, I have gotten to know my siblings, and they all told me that I needed to get everything in writing. They all warned me, or get witnesses. And in those phone calls, Miss Jenkins shared with us that...
Do you call your mother Miss Jenkins?
My mom, it is very hard, told us that it didn't matter how long it took, or how long it took, or how much we could afford per month. You know, that she really wanted to go on this trip, and she wanted to be able to experience the time. I've never been alone with my mom on a trip ever.
Why is that?
So she's never been a mother to her, Your Honor.
Well, I was 3 months old when I was sold to a family. It was considered like a black market by my biological father and mother. And
so you were raised by another family?
I was raised by another group of people that abused me for the first 18 years of my life.
And then you found your mother?
I was 29 when I made the first call on April 7th, 1978.
You have siblings?
I have 7 siblings.
All older?
2 older, and the rest are younger, and 1 sibling by my father.
So this was really the first time you were alone with your mother?
Alone without anybody except for my husband.
So you have every intention, or your intention is or was to pay back the expenses that you put on this card, your phone bill and your insurance and the other things. Okay. Did you pay back any of the money to your mother?
Yes, I did.
How much did you pay back?
The total is $1,026.
Now, as far as you're concerned, does that bring you up to date with your mother, both for the expenses that you charged on a card and the third of the trip? Doesn't look
We
that
don't know
way.
how much a third of the trip was.
We have never received any documentation telling us the cost of the hotel or cost of the airplane ride, anything.
All I know is the trip to Hawaii was $25.33. 1/3 of that is $8.44.
Okay.
Okay. And then the other charges that you have on this credit card, which is what your mother gave me. Let me see if I can come up with a number.
I have letters here from both Mary Lynn and her husband that said how much they were going to pay and when they were going to pay. When she first came to Oregon, I co-signed for her to get a new car.
I'm not going, listen to me. Don't go back into ancient history. This is a very simple case, and let's not make it any more complicated, madam.
The last payments I got was for $13. That's what they're going to pay me the rest. $13 for 18 years will repay me for this loan.
How old are you, Miss Jenkins?
72.
You don't have a lot of money, but you have some, enough to keep you comfortable?
Yes.
Good. Is it important for you to have a relationship with your daughter?
Not now.
She never did before.
Just a minute. That's not her fault.
I was in the hospital when she was taken from me, and her father placed her with these people. I was in the hospital. He had deserted us. I was there for malnutrition and a kidney infection. And he brought these people to the hospital and said they wanted to adopt her. I throwed such a fit, they threw them all out. When I got out of the hospital, he had placed her with these people.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She told him that the used appliance man was my father. It's not a matter of money. I was sold for pots and pans and the cost of her hospital bill.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mary Jenkins says her daughter, Mary Lynn Fowler, and her husband, William Fowler, owe for a trip to Hawaii and for unpaid credit card charges.
Miss Jenkins, I'm not placing blame.
Oh, okay.
I'm not placing blame. All I'm saying to you, it's not her fault. She was the baby. She was a baby.
That's right.
So
it also was not my fault. I tried.
Well, it's not her fault, so it has to be parents' fault because the parents are the parents. It's not her fault. All I'm saying to you is...
I was 18 years old when she was born.
All I'm saying to you is, it seems to me that it's a very sad state of affairs.
It is a sad story.
When a parent, especially with a circumstance where there has been a terrible estrangement over the years, for a couple of $1,000s, sues a child. That's something that I hate to see. If a child disappoints you by not repaying a loan, what parents usually do is say, I'm not going to give them any more money. It's a sorry state of affairs when you choose, under these circumstances, over a trip, to bring a lawsuit against your children. Now I'm going to turn to your counterclaim for a minute, which I believe you know at this point is nonsense, but I'm just going to make sure you know it's nonsense. Your counterclaim is for two things. You believe that you should be paid for caregiving services on the trip to Hawaii. Mm-hmm. And then a certain emotional distress. The emotional distress, I'm sure, is some of the distress that you've just told me about. Well, you don't get paid for that. And as far as the caregiving for your mom, that was the arrangement. The arrangement was you were going to take care of her there so that she could travel. There was never any discussion of compensation, so you're not entitled to create a contract afterwards. So I'm sure that, but for the fact that your mother filed this lawsuit, you would not have filed your counterclaim. Right. Would that be a fair statement?
That's right.
Yes.
So, the emotional stress, though, I did have to go into therapy, which was very helpful so that I could write the letter that started this whole thing. On January 2nd, I wrote her a letter sharing with her I knew the truth and that she doesn't realize I have the paperwork where she signed me off when I was 3 months old. I have 2 valid certificates of birth with 2 different names. The people that adopted me to put me in a life of abuse. I was 18 years. That's why the $13 for 18 years, for the 18 years of hell I lived in until I could leave home. It's not a matter of money. I was sold for pots and pans and the cost of her hospital bill. And my biological father shared in the guilt. He told me he was sorry. He thought he wasn't my father. She told him that the used appliance man was my father. So that's why he left. He didn't have any need to stay around any longer.
Mrs. Fowler, it sounds to me as if you have a lot on your emotional plate to deal with.
And I do, and I appreciate your allowing me to share.
I believe that you have a lot on your emotional plate to deal with. So let me just make some suggestions to you.
Thank you.
You have children?
I have 3.
How old are they?
My oldest is 33. He's a president of a company. My daughter lives here in Los Angeles. I adopted her from Cambodia, and she's 41. She's married to a fireman here, and my youngest son is just 30, and he's a doctor of psychology, and he just was out of the Navy during the 9/11.
So it sounds like you have 3 lovely children.
I do,
They've done
and
okay.
grandchildren.
And how many?
3 grandchildren
Soon
and 2.
to be 3.
No, I have 3. 2 boys here, 1 girl in Nebraska, and 2 that are within the next week.
So it sounds like everything came together.
That's good.
Despite the pain in the beginning of your life. So well, the reason I asked you the age of your kids is because you had children when they were 18. Remember when they were 17, 18 years old?
Definitely.
Tell me about them when they were 17, 18 years old.
Hot cars and fun times, and we also went through...
But irresponsible?
They had to be respectful. You know,
but irresponsible?
Yes.
Irresponsible kids?
Yes,
kids.
Sometimes.
So because I had 18-year-olds, a whole bunch of them, and they know nothing.
Oh, about life.
So I want you to just think about your mother being 18 years old, and you were her 3rd child?
3rd child.
3rd child. So something wasn't going right in her life.
I know that.
Because she must have had first when she was 14 or 15. Right?
And I understand
so something wasn't going right there. And nobody has a crystal ball. Very often adoptions turn out beautifully. Most often, they turn out beautifully. People who want to adopt a baby really want a child very desperately, and they want to give the child a home. So if that even entered the mix of, I'm 18 years old, I got 3 children, I have no idea how I'm going to pay for tomorrow's bread, at least give my child a shot at a future. The fact that it turned out badly is a sin.
It is.
But I don't think that that sin can be visited on your mother, because you know what being 18 is, and being 17 and 16 and 15 and...
Nor did I ever say that I knew this dramatically because I didn't want her to hurt. I have, you know, I've known for the last 29 years that I was bought. I was not ever legally adopted. There's no legal adoption papers. And I was told from birth on that I was not loved and that I was sold to them.
Then your quasi-adopted
Right.
parents
Right.
did a terrible thing.
They did.
And
they're gone.
And everybody's dead but me, so that's why you
No, they're
mother.
not.
No, Miss Jenkins, you
I'm
have
serious.
to... You have,
All these other people are all dead.
you have to understand that your daughter, even though she's 53 years old, has certain hurts.
I understand that.
And that
I
she's
hurt
had
too when I couldn't
no,
get
no,
my
no, no.
baby.
Listen to me. It's different. You're the mother. You're supposed to be the one to take care of business, even if you are 18 years old. It was your fault you got pregnant. It was your fault you had her. And she's had to deal with certain hurts her whole life. And it looks to me as if she has done a responsible turnaround, despite her unfortunate upbringing. And she's raised a family. She has a nice husband. She has nice children. And she appears to me to be a lovely lady, despite the fact that she has pain. And I think you're making a big mistake by suing her. I want to tell you that I think you're making a big mistake by suing her.
Can I say something?
Sure can.
When she first found me, she called me. I got on a plane. I went back there. I spent a month with her. And while I was there, this man came to the door. He didn't knock. He said, "Marilyn, I'm coming in." This is the same man she was talking about that done all these things to her. She was 28 years old then. I talked to her ex-husband that she married at 18 years old. When I talked to her husband about this, he said he didn't know anything about it, or he would not have let a child molester in his home. I asked him, how could this be? She didn't share that with her husband? She was 18 years old?
Miss Jenkins, sometimes you don't share those things with anybody.
Now she's
Because-
sharing it with the whole world.
Just a second. Maybe a little therapy and maybe a little maturity allows her to do that. But I won't allow you to dismiss that, because even if over the years the facts have become blurred, your daughter felt abandoned when she found out that she was not a biological child of these people, that she had not been formally adopted. And the fact that she married somebody when she was 18 seems to suggest that there were a lot of things going on that...
And she married a man with money so that her children could go to college. I didn't do that.
Just
I'm
a second.
sorry.
Just a second.
May I?
She has not had an irresponsible life. I think you're making a mistake by suing her, but there it looks to me, look, folks, I see that I'm not going to repair this, Miss Fowler.
Can I add,
Sure.
Can I add something? I've been silent. Yes, I've been silent. My ex-husband did not know about my abuse because I felt like I would have been dirty to him. The reason why the child molester came in my home was because he was at my grandmother's house. My biological mother was there. He came in because he wanted to renew old friendships with her. He was
That's
in and
a lie,
out.
Mary
He was
Lynn.
in and out of our home for the first 3 years of my life. He would come over and drop me off. She would babysit for me while they went out and partied. And you tell them that's
are
not
you
a
telling
lie?
me that you knew your mother?
My mother babysat for me till I was 3 years old.
In these other people's homes?
In her own home. They brought me to her
my
house.
home.
So at 3 months old, you were given to another couple.
Right.
But they allowed your mother to babysit for you until you were 3
years old.
Miss Fowler.
Thank you. I'm
Do you
sorry.
have a nice husband?
I have a wonderful husband.
You have 3 children?
Yes.
You're going to have some new grandchildren?
Yes.
Sounds to me as if everything is okay.
It is.
And you're trying to find a
Some
comfortable
closure.
path. A comfortable path for yourself. I don't think your mom's going to get there. She's not going to get there. And whether or not you can mend it, I don't know, and I don't even know whether it should be that important to you anymore. You know, you want it to be important, but I don't know if
Everybody wants a mom.
Yeah, but I don't know if it can be. So it seems to me as if you have somebody lovely to rely on, and you have a lovely family, and maybe it's just time to put that period. So, Ms. Jenkins, I've gone over some brief figures. You're suing your daughter and your son-in-law for $3,048.38. I find that they owe you $760 on the bills, and I'm entering a judgment in your favor for $760. And if you want to cancel it, you can. That's all.
I want to
That's
cancel
up to you.
it. I want to cancel it.
Well, you want to cancel the debt? No, that's
no,
important.
I want to
you want to
cancel
cancel
this
the
court.
debt?
I want to cancel
Do you want to
this court.
cancel the debt?
No, I want the money I need to pay the credit card off.
$760 then is what you get, period.
I hope you enjoy it, Mary
Parties
Ann.
are excused. You may step out.
This isn't about the money. It was about the letter I sent to her telling her I knew about being sold.
These people have two good jobs. They take care of his sister that's handicapped like I am. And then they give her $200 a month, but they can't pay me $100 a month.
It's just sad. It's just so sad that she can't put her pride in her pocket. She has to be such an obnoxious old woman.
22-year-old student Erin Samuels is suing her boyfriend's ex-girlfriend, 20-year-old student Barbara Jordan, for vandalizing her car. Barbara is countersuing for harassment.
Miss Samuels, is this your current boyfriend?
Yes.
And Ms. Jordan, this is your current boyfriend?
Yes.
According to your complaint, the defendant used to date your boyfriend.
That is correct.
And because she was angry with you, or whatever, for dating this gentleman, she vandalized your car.
Yeah.
She says she didn't do it, and she is counterclaiming because she says that you harass her. Right? Could you step up for a moment? I just want to see what everybody's fighting over. Could you pick your pants up? What's your name?
Louis Castillo.
How old are you, Louis?
20.
You live at home?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Knew you were going to get it right, Louis, eventually. How long did you date Miss Jordan?
Probably for like 3 years.
Whose idea was it to break off the relationship, yours or hers?
Both of ours.
How long have you been dating Miss Samuels? She could pick up her pants, too. I don't have to look at her belly.
Probably for like 6 months.
Have you had any contact with Miss Jordan?
No,
Do you know of any reason why she didn't like Miss Samuels?
I wouldn't know.
Don't know? Have no clue. A man of few words. Have a seat. All right, so tell me about this vandalism, Miss Samuels. When did it happen?
6/25/02.
And where did it occur?
Driscoll and Paseo Padre.
Who lives there?
My friend Lisa.
So tell me what happened.
I was over at Lisa's visiting her, and she received a phone call from Barbara. She was going to come over. Well, Lisa told her no, and Barbara couldn't figure out exactly why she didn't want her to come over. So Barbara, being across the street at the payphone at the gas station.
How do you know that?
It says on Lisa's caller ID, payphone, and Lisa knows the payphone across the street.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, she noticed my car being across the street.
How do you know she noticed your car?
Because she knows my car. How? I don't know.
Okay, just tell me, don't tell me what she noticed, what she saw. Just you tell me what you saw and what you heard. Okay, so she called Lisa's house. Is that right?
Yeah.
And Lisa told you not to come over.
Yeah, that time.
I mean, I'm reading your answer because your answer seems to verify that. And you went over anyway.
She called me earlier in the day and told me to come over. I said, I got to finish getting ready. And then I called her from the payphone and said I was there. She said, don't come over. And I said, okay. And then he got on the phone.
Louis?
Yes. And he said, I'm going to meet you across the street. I said, why do I need to meet you for? And then they hung up on me. So I went to her apartment and I knocked on the door.
You went to Lisa's apartment?
Yes, and I knocked on the door.
So you knew at that point that Louis was there?
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear Miss Samuels there? What happened when she came over?
She was banging on the door saying for me to come out. She said, come out here, I'm going to kick your ass. Why don't you come out here?
So then, according to you, she knew you were there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And you did not come out?
No.
I see it again. Thank you. What happened next?
I received a phone call after Louis had left to get her out of there.
Louis went outside?
Yeah.
Louis, did you see her when you went outside? Louis?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
You went outside. What did you see when you got outside? Just look at me. Don't make up any stories because you know what'll happen to you. I'll wipe up the floor with you.
I know.
Just tell me what you saw and what you heard when you got outside, if anything.
I seen her. Basically, I was just telling her, you know what I mean, why are you starting trouble? You know what I mean, I'm out of here. Just get out of here, you know what I mean?
Could you try to speak clearly, you know? So you told her basically to get out?
Yeah. That, you know what I mean? It's over with.
Louis, I know that you're a nice guy. So the answer is yes.
Yes.
And what did she respond to you? Did she say anything?
Talking a bunch of garbage or whatever.
Louis, do you curse in front of your mother?
No.
Would you curse in front of the priest?
No, ma'am.
So you would have to search in your vocabulary and find other words to use, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So I want you to tell me what she said to you when you told her to leave.
She was really, like, crying, to tell you the truth. She was, like, crying and, like, tripping because she seen me.
She was crying?
Because she seen her car out there and she knew I was with her, basically.
Don't tell me what she knew. I want you to tell me what you saw. You saw her crying?
Yeah.
Did she say anything to you?
There were mostly cuss words.
That she said to you?
Yeah.
Did she finally leave?
I thought she left because my sister lives in the same apartments. And I went to my sister's house and I came back out and she was at her car.
You saw her at her car?
Yeah, because her
car... No, look at me. You actually saw her near Miss Samuel's car? Look at me.
Yeah, it's right there on the corner of Driscoll and Paseo Padre.
How close did you see her to the car? From where you are to where?
The microphone.
How long was she standing that close to the car that you saw?
15 to 20 minutes. Because I was trying to have her leave the apartment complex. I left and went in my sister's house and she was gone. But when I came back, my brother-in-law had told me that she was out there still.
Did you see her when you came out there again? Is that when you saw her at the car, or did you not actually see her at the car?
I seen her at the car.
When?
The first time.
The first time?
Yeah. As soon as we left the apartment complex.
Down, Louis. Now it's clear as mud.
Fog is not lifting.
Okay, when had you parked the car there?
I would say not even a half hour before I was just there.
About a half hour before Miss Jordan came over?
Yes.
When did you see the car again?
After I was clear that she had left. I'm not about to go out there after she said she was going to kill me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How come you didn't say, I was in the car, I saw what happened, I didn't do it, somebody else did it?
I said that I was there.
Oh, no, you didn't.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Erin Samuel says her boyfriend's ex, Barbara Jordan, vandalized her car. Barbara says she didn't do it.
Did you have any further conversation with Miss Jordan?
She had called my cell phone and told me to come out and look in my car.
She called you on your cell phone?
Yeah. After
when?
The incident happened, right after she did it and left.
Okay, good. And then you went out and saw what damaged the car. Let me see it.
This is of the windshield, and the police report says how they examined.
What kind of car do you have?
I don't have one.
What kind of car do you drive in?
I don't.
Who's Kim?
My mom.
But your mother has a car.
Yeah. He does too,
but... Look at that. Your mother has a car.
She's in jail, though.
Your mother has a car.
Yes.
That a witness says matched the license plate of the car that was responsible for the damage to her car.
That's true.
Ooh,
I was there, but I did not do it.
How interesting.
The girl I was with did do it.
Really?
Yes. I didn't even know her car. I did not know nothing about her, but this girl had known her.
The girl who was driving the car did it?
No, not the driver.
You were the driver?
No, neither one of us were the driver. There was a third girl involved.
So you were in the car?
Yes.
Good! How come you didn't mention that in your answer?
What?
How come you didn't say, I was in the car, I saw what happened, I didn't do it, somebody else did it?
I said that I was there.
Oh, no, you didn't.
I said that I was there, and I called from across the street on the payphone.
No, you didn't say that you were there. Listen, Barbara, you didn't say in your answer anything about being present when the vandalism occurred to her car.
I didn't get that far.
You got that far in your answer to me.
In my police report, it says
you
that
got
too.
that far in your answer to me.
My police report says that I admit that I was there, but I did not do it.
You did it as far as I'm concerned, honey. Unless you can give me a good reason why anybody else would vandalize her car.
Because the other girl knows her, and she said that she was saying things about me, and she said, how are you going to let it ride? How are you going to just let her? I'm like, I don't really care, because I broke up with him. He was in jail. I broke up with him, and I was staying with him. I don't care that they're together. I don't care about none of that. And I am not jealous of anything. Why would I care?
Tell me how you got to be in a car with somebody who vandalized her car and what this other girl had against her.
I do not know what she had against her.
I don't know either. All I know is the car belonged...
I don't have nothing against her.
All I know is the car belonged to your mother, who you tell me is where?
In jail.
In jail.
It has nothing to do with none of this.
All right. Tell me no more. Give me the estimates on the car, please.
The estimates on the car are on the police report. Where's the windshield? This is the restraining order.
I asked you for one thing. I said, give me the estimate on the car.
The complete and total cost is at the very last.
What year car is this?
2000.
Was the car repaired?
No.
Why not?
Don't have the money to repair it. I didn't plan
There's no
on-
insurance on the car?
No.
Who owns the car free and clear?
Me now. It was just paid off recently.
When was it just paid off?
Not even a month ago on my
Well,
birthday.
if it was just paid off a month ago, that means that when this happened in June, you had to keep insurance on the car because there was a money lender involved, so you had to keep insurance on the car.
But I didn't want to pay a $500 deductible that I didn't have to get the car repaired.
Just a second. I'm going to love this. You had a $500 deductible in June, is that right?
Yeah.
Of course. We're now 6 months later, and I'm asking you why you didn't have the car fixed when you had insurance instead of having a bill here for $5,000. That doesn't sound right. Where'd you expect her to get $5,000 from, madam? You're not going to get $5,000. That's what you had your insurance for. You think that I believe this whole cock and bull story that you just told me?
The key
That you didn't have, no, about the repairs to the car.
I didn't have the $500 for the insurance.
Let them fix as much as they can.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Now, I want you to tell me about your counterclaim, Miss Jordan. Let's hear it.
Okay, she has a restraining order on me. And on
Rightfully so.
On the 11th of this month, at 5 o'clock in the morning, the same girl, Lisa, calls my house saying that she's outside. I go outside, and she's hiding in the car, too. And they give me a paper to say that they're going to sue me. I called my attorney, and I told him that she had came there, and I said, she has a restraining order on me. What can I do about it? Because he said I could go to jail because she has the 100-yard restraining order. And I went back inside, and on my answer machine was a tape of her and Lisa laughing about the whole situation. They're all F the cops, this and that. Well, you can hear the tape.
Sure, I'd like to hear the tape. Bert, could you bring it up here? Maybe it's my here.
Okay, I'm gonna hit this. Put it in my phone. I have my phone. Talk about a fast getaway, huh? They're all laughing. Yeah, hello. I can't. Oh my god. Oh my god. No, no.
Does it get better?
It's just basically how they're laughing, how they came to my house.
They're laughing. They came to your house. They should serve you with a small claim summons.
And she's not even supposed to be on our property.
Just a minute. You don't have a protective order against her. Is that right? Shh, listen to me carefully. Do you have a protective order against her?
Not yet. I'm in the process of getting it.
Who handed you the summons?
Lisa handed it to him.
So Lisa never served you?
No, but they were at my house at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Fine. They can be at your house at 3 o'clock in the morning.
No,
they can serve
can't.
you with a summons. Yeah. Your counterclaim is dismissed. It's not harassment.
And
in any event, and on your claim, listen to me carefully. You should have had your car fixed when you had insurance. However, I'm not going to penalize you for stupidity any more than $4,500 worth, because I am awarding you $500, which would have been your out-of-pocket expenses had you had your car repaired when you had insurance in June, when this incident happened. Do I make myself clear?
Yeah.
Good. Goodbye.
All these are excused. You may step out.
I have papers saying that my vandalism has been dismissed, saying that I did not do it.
She was seen by people in the apartment complex. They called the police before I even got out to the vehicle to call them, and the description fit her.
It's a car for him.
That's correct.
With the understanding that he was going to make all the payments, and when all the payments were made, the title would be placed in his name. He missed a payment. You took the car back. The time Yes, according to your complaint, madam, that's what you say. You say part of your agreement was that if he missed one payment, you would take the car back. He missed a payment, you took the car back. When you took the car back, it had a bad transmission, and you want him to pay for the transmission, and that he owes you money for furniture. Now, is anything that I said incorrect?
He missed the payment in December.
I don't care when he missed it. He missed a payment.
Right, correct. But I did not get the car back until...
I don't care when you got the car back. The reason you took the car back is because he missed a payment.
He asked me if I wanted the car back. I did not take the car back from him. I sent him a certified letter stating that he could keep the car because I didn't want it back because I knew the transmission was damaged.
So why did you take it back?
He called and asked me if I wanted the car back. And so that's exactly what I did. I said, then fine, if you don't want the car, then give it back to me. So,
Miss Bricker, you have the car.
Correct.
You want him to pay you for the bad transmission.
Correct.
He made all the payments for the car except one.
Correct.
That's what I said.
Okay.
And you claim that you made a loan to him for furniture. He says it was never a loan for furniture. You bought some furniture for his house, but that was of your own volition. There was never a discussion of it being a loan. And you were really being sort of spiteful in taking back the car because he made all of the payments. For how long, sir?
For 11 months.
One payment he missed, and it wasn't even the last payment. It was a payment several months before. And he thought that you forgave that missed payment, and if you had asked him for it, he would have given it to you. So he is counterclaiming. He's counterclaiming for all the money he put into the car. That's what this case is about. Where is the car?
He has it right now.
I have it right now.
You do?
Yeah.
What do you have it for?
Because she told me if I started making payments on it, that she would allow me to continue to make payments on it.
That is not true.
That is
you
true.
have the car now.
I have the car now.
Good, so your counterclaim's dismissed, right? Because you have the car, right? What do you look so stunned for? What do you look stunned for? You're counterclaiming for the car payments because you say you want all the money back.
As long as
you have the car back. That was your agreement.
Because it wasn't ever my intention to give her the car back. I wanted to keep making payments on it.
That's what you're going to do, right?
Right.
So you're withdrawing your counterclaim.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, that's what I thought. Okay, and you're withdrawing that part of your claim that deals with the transmission for the car because you didn't have it fixed. Is that right?
The reason he has the car back is because his dad's truck broke down that he was using. He called up and asked if he could rent the car from me, and I said fine. He gave me $50 on Wednesday to rent the car from me because he had no transportation to take his kids to and from school.
Miss Bricker, did you pay any money to fix the transmission on the car?
Over $3,800, yes, I did.
Let me see the bill.
Your Honor. Your Honor.
There's also another. The transmission became disabled, and there was a statement that said from his mechanic that said that the car was going to need a new transmission. A year later is when I paid for the new transmission. After he called me and told me, you can have the car back. Here's the receipts.
I just want to see the bill
Your
for
Honor.
the transmission.
Your Honor. I intended on making payments on it and getting the transmission fixed, and she makes it seem like I just gave the car back because it was broken.
That's exactly.
That's
why
not
he
correct.
gave the car back.
We broke up.
I don't care. I don't care. You have to pay her for having the car fixed if you want it back.
I was going to pay that.
Good. Now let's hear about the furniture.
In October, I came into some money, a lot of money. And what ended up happening is he was getting ready to move out from where he was currently living with his 2 small children, and he was moving into a new place. And I wanted things nice. He had old furniture for the kids. He had absolutely nothing, no pots and pans, hardly anything in the house, because most of the stuff was missing after his divorce from his wife or separation. And so what I did, and he agreed to this, I said, here's some furniture that's for sale. I said, it's $125. It was a 7-piece, couch, sofa, love seat, coffee table, lamp, the whole thing. And I said, do you want this? And he said, yes. And I go, well, I'll pay it, and you'll pay me back. And that was the agreement. I wasn't buying this for him. I gave him other gifts other than...
We're talking about $125?
No. It's not more. It's more than that. It's stuff for the bathroom that I purchased.
All gifts.
It was not gifts.
Shh, don't speak to her. What do you need stuff for the bathroom? What's stuff for the bathroom?
Stuff for the bathroom, shower curtains, towels, clothes for the kids, dressers, all of that stuff. I paid for everything, and he agreed that he would pay me back for all of this.
Show me.
I have it.
Show me.
What do you want me to show you? He said, send me statements, and I did. I started sending them back in March to them, and I have copies of the statements that I started sending.
You have something on that recording that says that he acknowledges that debt?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to hear it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Money only came up when we separated.
I'm not interested in that explanation. You were giving her money for a long time.
That's what I want to say. The only time when she asked for something is when we broke up.
You're slick.
And later today.
I went and picked up the truck. I had legal right to do so.
Oh, no, you didn't.
Well, I got court ordered to do so.
Oh, well, let me see the court order.
I don't have it on me.
Well, then you don't have it. Then you don't have it. If you don't have it with you, then you don't have it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Victoria Bricker says ex-boyfriend Alfonso McLeod owes for car damages and for an unpaid loan for furniture.
All right. Let me hear the tape, please.
Number 8 at 5:26 a.m.
Do you think hanging up on me is going to make you get paid any quicker? But like I said, before you were such an immature child and hung up the phone, I'm willing to give you your money back that I owe you. I'm also willing to give you $50 a month to ensure that you get paid and receive every last penny that I owe you. But if you don't think that that's good enough, why don't you just go ahead and take me to court? And then that way we'll find out what you will ultimately end up receiving. Because either it's going to be all or it's going to be nothing. So those are your two options. You let me know what you want to do. You can go ahead and call me during my bad power hours. You can go ahead and tell me what you think about that, okay? Bye-bye.
Okay, now I'll hear you.
Oh, every other conversation, she's like, where's my money? Where's my money? Where's my money? Money only came up when we separated.
I'm not interested in that explanation. September 8th, you said I'm going to give you back all the money that I owe you.
And I was referring to the car.
How many more months do you have to pay her out?
About between 30 and 36.
You mean to pay to the bank?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm willing to do that.
You're slick. Tell me about the things that you purchased for the house, because you're entitled to have your say. I'm not interested in what you have to say. I'm interested in what he has to say right now. Tell me about the things that you purchased for the house and how that came about.
Okay, I had furniture, I had a TV, whatnot, blah, blah. You know, she's like, well, this is old stuff.
Were you dating at the time?
Yes.
When did you move?
December of 2001. We had broken up 3 times since then, but we were still dating.
You were dating in December of 2001 when you moved. Is that correct, Miss Bricker?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I had my furniture in there, but as she says, it was old, so she offered to get new furniture. I said, okay. And she knew my situation. She knew that I was going through a divorce and that I'm paying child support for 3 other children. I'm raising my 2 daughters by myself. So she offered to buy this furniture among other items that I felt were considered gifts. Well, if you have money to go ahead and pay me back, then go ahead. I can't pay you all at once. It's okay. Just give me money when you can. Okay.
Is that what she said to you?
Yes.
And is that what you said to her?
Yes.
So you were paying her back for the furniture?
Yes, if I had...
Shh! Listen to me. Just answer my question. You were paying her back for the furniture?
Yes.
Why did you stop?
Actually, I didn't stop, Your Honor.
Well, when was the last time you paid her any money for the furniture?
I would say probably in July.
Let me see.
Well, here's a bank statement, too, that shows the highlighted parts, or the things that are highlighted is the payments that I put into her account.
Okay, you made the car payment, so the last time you made payment was you're right, in July. For the other things.
Yes. Can I say something?
No! Because you're all over the place, sir. You have to have a defense. Your defense is either it was a gift, or your defense was that I don't have any more money, but you say it was a gift, but I did make payments. You don't make payments on a gift.
I was giving her money because that's what she asked for.
You were giving her money for a long time.
That's what I want to say. The only time when she asked for something is when we broke up. Everything was okay when we're together. And when we broke up, it's like, I want my car back.
How many children do you have?
5.
Is that her fault?
No, it's not her fault.
It's not her fault, sir, if you have to work 5 jobs because you made 5 children. It's not her fault. You don't take on responsibilities, borrow money that you can't pay back. You don't make more children than you can afford to take care of. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good.
She wanted the car back when we
I didn't ask you anything else. Does this $38.42 include the car?
Yes. I subtracted the payment.
Just answer my question.
Yes,
does that
it does.
say yes?
Yes, it does include the car.
Car and the furniture?
Yes, it does.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $38.42. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
You get involved with somebody, you make mistakes, you come from an honest place, and they don't.
Next time you get a girlfriend like that, make sure you have everything in writing.
And now the next case.
All parties on Lambert versus Staines. Step forward, please.
Geological draftsman Sherry Lambert is suing neighbor interior designer Penny Staines for knocking over a marble statue in her home.
Ms. Lambert, I gather that you and the defendant are neighbors. Is that right?
Yes.
And it is your claim that she owes you $5,000 because she was at your home during a party and knocked over a statue in your home and broke it.
Correct.
Ms. Staines said she's very sorry. It was an accident.
True, but she also entered the home uninvited.
So let's talk about that. You were having a party?
Mr. Brown and his wife and myself were hosting a small party that day, yes.
How was Mr. Brown?
He's my next-door neighbor. I apologize, Your Honor.
And how many people were at the party?
I'd say approximately 15.
How large an apartment or home do you have?
About 2,000 square feet.
Now tell me about Miss Staines. How did she get to the party?
I'm not sure, but she walked in carrying a plate of bread in one hand, a yellow glass in the other,
So
and
you saw, just a second, so you saw her when she came in?
That's correct. I was standing off to the side, and she came in the front door and announced, "I'm crashing your party." I took the bread out of her hand, walked into the dining room.
Said, shh, just a second. She must have said something to you first for you to take the bread out of her hand. Now, was this bread that she was eating, or was this bread that she came to bring to the party?
She was bringing it to the party.
Okay.
All right, she stated she was crashing the party.
Right.
I was not happy, didn't quite know how to respond.
I don't care whether you were happy or not. Your emotional state is not relevant in these proceedings. I want to know what you did.
I took the bread from her and took it into the dining room. I did not want food on the bar area.
Was there a buffet there? Is that what was there?
Correct.
What happened next?
I heard a loud crash. I walked back into the living room area. The defendant was sitting on the floor next to this marble statue and pedestal, which she had knocked over. She was very upset. She was crying, sobbing. Needless to say, I was very upset.
Did you see a lawyer, Ms. Lambert?
No.
Did anyone tell you that if she was a guest in your home and this accident happened, because clearly you don't suggest she did this on purpose.
No, it was
an accident,
careless.
that she was not legally responsible. Did anyone ever tell you that?
No.
Did anyone ever tell you that if she were an invited guest, she would not be legally responsible, but if she was uninvited into your home and was really trespassing in your home, then she would be responsible?
That's what I would assume to be correct.
That's the reason why you told me in your complaint, "I'm crashing your party," to make it clear that she was really trespassing in your home.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Correct, Your Honor.
Trying to get around the fact that an invited guest would not be responsible if there was an accident in your home.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If it was in a safe place, unless she took her body and lunged into it.
Which she very possibly could have.
But you have no proof that she did that, Miss
I do have an eyewitness, Mr. Brown. Saw her knock it over.
Come up here, sir.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sherry Lambert says neighbor Penny Staines crashed a party at her home. Sherry claims during the party, Penny knocked over a marble statue.
Now, had you been previously invited to this party?
I had not officially been invited, no, Your Honor.
That's what I gather. And when you came in, you said, "I'm crashing the party"?
Actually, I said, "May I crash your party," thinking I was being charming.
Sounds right. And you brought some food?
I brought some homemade pizza bread, yes.
And Miss Lambert accepted that and added it to the rest of the party favors.
She directed me toward the dining room. I put it in on the table. And then turning and coming back, I met her again in the living room itself. We stopped and chatted for a bit.
What did you say to her, and what did she say to you when you stopped and chatted?
She hadn't seen me in some time, and last year I underwent some medical treatments and had lost my hair. And she commented on the fact that my hair had grown in and asked how I was feeling and how I was doing. That was a very brief moment, and then I turned to go toward the guest restroom to wash my hands. They'd gotten a bit soiled in bringing this food in. And there were quite a number of people in this narrow area. The statue was approximately 12 to 15 inches tall on about a 24-inch base, not tacked down or waxed down, sitting on carpet and padding. And when I excused myself and went around behind Mrs. rather than cut through two conversations, I didn't see the thing. The crowd moved and it was knocked over with my purse on my hip.
You felt terrible?
Of course I felt terrible.
Of course. You have homeowner's insurance?
Yes, ma'am.
Is this statue covered under your homeowner's policy?
No, it was not. We have a large number of fine art objects in our home, and my husband and I consider ourselves self-insured. We invite people into our home who we trust.
Well, there's no reason not to trust Miss Stames. She did not purposely knock over your statue. It was an accident.
Yes, it was.
You didn't expect her to pay $5,000 for your statue, do you?
Yes, I do.
She's not going to. I'm going to tell you why. Because while she may not have been an invited guest at the beginning, you invited her in by permitting her to remain because she asked the question. The question was, may I crash your party?
I don't recall the may.
Even if she said, I'm crashing your party, all you had to do was say to her, I'm sorry, you cannot.
You're
Instead,
correct.
according to you, you took her offering and never said to her, I'm sorry, you have to leave. And therefore, she became an invited guest. If she had negligently or purposefully damaged something in your home, she would have been responsible.
This was done negligently and
No, it
carelessly.
was not. When you have 15 or more people in a living room, the possibility exists that something that's laid out on a table is going to get brushed off by someone inadvertently.
If I may, Your Honor, for your consideration.
Sure.
I have prepared a scale drawing of our living room area.
I'm not interested in your
A
scale
photo.
drawing. Just pay attention, madam. If you have something valuable in your home that is uninsured, you take it and you put it in a safe place when you have a party.
It wasn't a safe place.
No, it was not in a safe place, because if it was in a safe place, unless she took her body and lunged into it...
Which she very possibly could have.
But you have no proof that she did that, Miss
I do have an eyewitness, Mr. Brown. Saw her
Mr.
knock it
Brown,
over.
come up here, sir.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mr. Brown, now let's be very careful with each other, sir. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes, I do.
Did you see this woman go over and knock over with her hand this statue?
I saw her standing there, and when she turned, her hip hit the statue.
Right. Thank you very much. You may be seated. That is what we call an accident, Miss Lambert. She turned around, according to your eyewitness, and when she turned around, her hip knocked into the statue and it fell over. That is an accident. She is not responsible for replacing your statue. Put your hand down, Mr. Brown. Thank you very much. The case is dismissed.
Parties are excused.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The place that I live, generally the parties are open to all.
These are expensive condominiums. Just because we don't have yards that separate our homes is not an open invitation to walk right in.
It certainly was not deliberate.
If somebody walks in and says, I'm crashing your party, I'll say, get out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lovell versus Carson. Step forward, please.
Attorney Warner Lovell is suing his former client, 27-year-old ticketing agent Diane Michelle Carson, for failure to pay for services in a custody battle. Michelle says she never hired him.
Mr. Lovell, you are an attorney.
That is correct.
And it is your claim that the defendant retained you in a custody proceeding to represent her and that she has an outstanding bill that you wanted to pay.
That is correct, Your Honor.
Ms. Carson says that she never retained you, that her mother, if anyone, retained you in this custody proceeding, and aside from that, you failed to show up in court on the day of the hearing. Is that your defense?
Yes.
I gather, Ms. Carson, that this whole case started with a custody proceeding involving your former husband some 6 or 7 years ago.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you have 2 small children.
Yes.
According to what I read in your answer, You lost custody to your husband.
Yes.
And your husband remarried. And recently he was dispatched to go into active duty, leaving the 2 children with their stepmother. And it was your desire to regain custody of the children, even temporarily, while their father was in the active military, rather than leaving them with their stepmother. That's what the lawsuit was about.
Yes.
And now, Mr. Lovell, I would like you to tell me when Miss Carson came to see you, how she was referred to you. I'd like to see the retainer agreement that she signed.
Your Honor, she came to me on or about June 18, 2002, the same date that she signed this agreement. Actually, she didn't come into my office. I gave the agreement to my secretary, one of my witnesses here, Diane Galloway, who is the mother of the defendant.
Okay, hold on a second. You took this retainer agreement, which I want to read for a second, and you gave it to your witness, who happens to be the defendant's mother.
Right, but Your Honor...
When it was returned to you, was it returned signed?
Yes.
So your conversations were primarily with her mother, who was your secretary?
That's correct.
Did you sign a retainer agreement with the plaintiff in June?
No, I did not.
Step up, please. Ms. Galloway, you worked for the plaintiff?
Yes.
For how long?
5 years.
Prior to the 18th of June, 2002, did you discuss with the plaintiff your daughter's predicament with regard to her 2 children?
Yes.
When had your daughter first contacted you and told you that the children were going to be with their stepmother?
She didn't contact me. I just knew.
How did you know?
Because I correspond with their father and the stepmother.
When you found out about it, what did you do?
I encouraged her to try to get temporary custody of them.
When did you speak to him?
June the 18th.
Are you telling me that prior to June the 18th you never spoke to him about the situation?
Not as far as in a professional manner, just as far as in corresponding, I would come in kind of depressed or upset or something and, share with him the situation.
Now, in June is when you had the first formal conversation with him, is that right?
That's correct.
And was it at that time that he gave you this retainer agreement?
Yes.
And what did you do with the retainer agreement?
I signed it, and then Michelle signed it.
Where was she when she signed it?
In my kitchen, in my house.
On what date?
September, I'm going to say probably around 21st, 27th.
Your Honor, Shut. I don't want you to speak.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The conference with client that you are referring to in your billing statement has to be Miss Galloway. Is that correct?
Yes, but may I explain?
No.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Attorney Warner Lovell says former client Michelle Carson owes for his services involving custody. Michelle says Mr. Lovell was hired by her mother, so she should pay.
Why is it that your daughter didn't sign the retainer agreement until September?
Because the proceedings, the way they were going, we thought we were going to have to, get attorney fees from the defendant. And I couldn't do that because I was not a party to the litigation. So I told her, in order to get attorney fees, you're the party, I'm not, you need to sign this.
Now, when was the hearing in this case?
First one I was involved in was scheduled for June 28, 2002, but we went in a day early, the 27th, at mutual agreement.
Mr. Lovell, between June 18th and September, how many court appearances did you make?
I made that one.
And then?
There was another lawyer involved for the defendant here, and the defendant and her mother wanted someone with more experience. I have 32 years experience.
Shh, Mr. Lovell. Who told you that?
Diane Galloway, my witness, told me they wanted someone more experienced. I then communicated with the defendant about this, and I sent her letters. She never responded to one of the letters and indicated
what was the date. What was the date of the letter, sir?
It was September 23rd. Was to her lawyer, my co-counsel, pointing out.
No, Mr. Lovell. Mr. Lovell, sir. Let me explain to you where I'm going, and you know exactly. You know exactly where I'm going, Mr. Lovell.
Right.
Between June 18th and some date in September that your witness is not sure of, the defendant did not retain you. She retained you.
I disagree with that assessment.
Well, I'm telling you, you may disagree with it, but since I am the final arbiter of what's going on here, you have to accept that, sir. Now, you are suing for work that was done between June and September. I think that your secretary wanted some help with a custody case that she thought was a good idea initially in April. She told her daughter that she thought her daughter should pursue this custody case as opposed to the stepmother. Her daughter retained her own attorney. She signed a retainer agreement with you in June. She did not sign it until September. And all I'm asking you now, sir, is to fill in the blanks for me when you had correspondence with the defendant. Show me.
The first letter I had with her was the 23rd of September. Here's a copy of the letter. I had another one on October 8th. But prior to these letters, I had telephone communications with her, Judge, Your Honor, and she recognized me as her counsel.
Don't tell me she recognized you as her counsel, sir. I don't see that she recognized you as her counsel. You don't have a retainer agreement signed by her until September. And in September, you started sending her letters that you wanted your money. She says, you're not my lawyer. I mean, I'm not asking you any questions. I'm just looking at your paperwork, sir, and listening to your witness.
From August 6th to October 7th, Diane Galloway was out of my office with a wrist injury and surgery. So I was having to communicate some with the defendant directly. She recognized me as her lawyer. And
did you recognize him as your lawyer?
I never spoke with him. It was always through my mom. My mom would tell me something. I never spoke with this gentleman on the telephone except for one time, and it was a no charge on the billing statement. All of this other billing is conversation with Diane Galloway, conversation with Diane Galloway.
See it, please?
All of the bills.
Can I see it, please? How much did you pay your attorney?
My attorney? $2,000.
What happened with the case?
I lost.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Who paid you your retainer on June 18th?
Diane Galloway paid a $500 retainer on that time. I have a copy of the check she's given.
I believe you.
Okay.
Am I correct that in your statement to this defendant, dated 7/1/02 for the month of June, that when you refer to conference with client, you are referring to Miss Galloway?
Some of those were with Miss Galloway. I had a conversation or two with each one.
Listen to me, sir. You don't say clients. You say client. Did you have a conference with Miss Carson on 6/18? The answer is either yes or no.
No.
So if you did not have a conference, Mr. Lovell, with Miss Carson on June 18th, the conference with client that you are referring to in your billing statement has to be Miss Galloway. Is that correct?
Yes, but may I explain?
No. On June 19th, did you have a conference with Miss Carson?
Not in person.
Are you telling me, sir, that you had a conference on the telephone with Miss Carson and you had a conference with Miss Galloway as well?
No. The defendant worked for American Airlines and I couldn't reach her by phone during the day. When I would call, I usually would not get a response. If she had to come into my office, she would lose pay. Therefore, I would communicate to her through Diane Galloway.
Mr. Lovell, I'm not going to prolong this torture anymore, sir. You do not have a case against Miss Carson and you know it. Case dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Came as a complete surprise to me today that she's saying I'm not her lawyer.
The agreement was that my mother hired him. He was a co-counsel. She was paying the bill, and I was paying my own lawyer bill.
What I heard my daughter say is that I pushed her into getting temporary custody of her children versus her stepmom. That tells me that she don't want them.
And I've gone through 3 lawyers paying and paying to get my children, so it's not that I don't want my children.
Jennifer Anderton is suing her former friend, James Sorensen, for personal training and a fraudulent investment.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 2125, Anderton versus Sorensen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Anderton, your case against the defendant is twofold. First, you claim a loan to him in the amount of $10,000. And while he doesn't deny that you gave him $10,000, it is his defense that this was not a loan, but an investment in a project that went south. It went south because somebody conned him, and thus you were conned as well. Somebody took off with the money. The second part of your lawsuit is that Mr. Sorensen is a trainer of some sort, a personal trainer, fitness trainer, and you retained him to put you on some sort of a regimen of both diet and exercise. And you paid him in advance. He wasn't forthcoming with all of the training sessions he was supposed to give you became unavailable. You want a refund of some of that money. So the first thing I'm going to deal with in your lawsuit is the $10,000 exchange of money. If I find that that, in fact, was a loan or was fraudulently entered into as a result of being duped and being a dope, then I'm going to give you back the money. Then I don't have to get to the training because that's the limit of my jurisdiction. Do you understand?
I understand.
Okay, great. How did you meet him?
I met him on a dating site, actually.
When?
Early June 2021.
Did you date?
We befriended each other. And after our first meeting, that is when I had just come off of a ventilator of 10 days. I was a nurse, contracted COVID. He actually came to my home and said, I could really help you get back to where you were. I needed rehab.
Okay, so after the first meeting, you were not dating?
No.
Is that right, sir?
That's correct.
And that was in June of 2021?
Yes.
When did you, Mr. Sorensen, tell Ms. Anderton about this investment opportunity?
It was about a month into...
So 4 weeks later?
Right.
4 weeks later, you became close enough to discuss with her a business opportunity?
Yes.
And did you discuss this business opportunity with her in her home or over the phone?
In her home.
So I want you to tell me your version of exactly what you told her.
So I had a friend come to me and...
You had a friend whose name is?
His name is Scott.
Scott what?
I can't remember his last name.
I don't believe you.
Okay.
If it's true, then it didn't happen. If it's true that you can't remember his last name, it's because he doesn't exist.
Oh, he does exist.
Oh, sir, you didn't give all that money to somebody whose last name you don't know. I want you to understand that. Then you're looking at me and saying I must have stupid written on my forehead. You don't look like a stupid man.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, you look like you could be a cunning man, but you don't look like a stupid man. So if Scott doesn't have a last name, he didn't exist. I want you to tell me that's in my brain. In my brain is if you can't come up with a first and last name of somebody that you gave thousands of dollars to, he didn't exist.
Okay, in your mind.
Keep going.
I'm not going to keep going and dig any holes. I'm just telling you what the facts are.
No, those aren't facts, sir. That's a fantasy. You know, you're not mentally challenged in any way, are you?
No.
I want to tell you, if I told my 9-year-old grandchild who asked me for $100 because she wanted to invest it with a friend, I would say, what's the friend's name? I don't know. See, I'm not giving you $100 to invest with somebody whose name you don't know, because I'm absolutely positive that if you said that to her, she would have said, well, what's this person's name? I want you to tell me now, Mr. Sorensen, what was the investment?
It was for Happy Pills.
It was for what?
Happy Pills.
Don't look at me.
Happy? Did you say Happy Pills?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me about it. Tell me what you told her. You want to invest in Happy Pills.
Yes.
What she'd say to you? She'd say to you, I'm a nurse, you know, so I'm an educated person. What's wrong with you? Okay, keep going. Keep going. I want to invest in Happy Pills.
Right.
Your friend Scott.
It was a friend of a friend. His name was Scott. Okay, and he introduced me to him and said that, hey, he went.
No, you mean Scott introduced you to somebody else?
No, my friend introduced me to Scott. I didn't know his last name, but we knew that he was in the industry.
Okay, so your friend introduced you to Scott.
Yes.
What's your friend's name?
His name is John. I promise.
Where does he live?
He lives in Salt Lake.
What's his telephone number?
I have no idea what his telephone number is.
Just a second, get out your phone and tell me what your friend's telephone number is. Everybody has their friend's number in their phone.
I don't know what his telephone number is.
Then you see why I don't believe you, sir? Do you understand why I'm having a problem with your story?
It's okay.
Do you understand why I'm having? So a friend whose number you don't have in your phone wanted to introduce you to somebody whose name you don't know to invest in Happy Pills. And this is what you told her? No, I'm asking you a question. Is this what you told her? I have a friend.
This is what I told her.
John, I have a friend, John, who knows a guy, Scott, who has this company that's going to make Happy Pills. I just want to know if that's what you're trying to tell me that you told this woman.
I am. It's okay. I don't know why she would make up that story that
No. She's not making up the story. You're making up the story.
Okay.
And if I'm wrong about this, I actually don't feel badly, sir, because then you're the dope that got duped.
And later today,
You devalued her car while you had it.
Yeah, okay.
You used the car for 2.5 years that was running. It stopped running because the engine was blown.
Yes.
And then you stopped making the payments on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Last year's car wash was $6,000. Let's do this.
Whoa.
That's bonkers! How close can we get to the sign?
This is it. No, wait. They take this seriously. I told you!
Crystal, what do we say if somebody doesn't want to buy?
Buy my brownies or I'll kill you.
Don't say that, Crystal.
Jennifer Anderton claims her former friend, James Sorensen, owes her for a fake $10,000 investment.
Okay, keep going.
You know what happy pills are?
I assume that they make you happy.
Right. Yeah, they are. It's Molly.
I assume that they make you happy.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. And so he went around to festivals and he sold Molly there.
He sold what?
Molly.
Molly's.
MDMA. It's an illegal drug.
Oh, okay. So you told her you wanted her to make an investment with you with a big return on your money.
We talked about this for a long time.
Who did?
Me and...
You can't have talked about it for a long time, sir. You only knew her 4 weeks.
Okay.
You only knew her 4 weeks. Tell me about this $10,000. Did you take it out of a savings account? Do you have that from the bank?
Yeah. Right
I'd
here.
like to take a look at it. You want to tell me, Miss Anderton, the circumstances surrounding you transferring $10,000 to him?
He approached me saying that he needed a hard money loan for his business. He had an e-commerce business with supplements. His father and mother had given him the loans in the past, for the past 5 years, and they've gotten a good return. It was a for sure deal. He goes around and this is their festival project time. They make a lot of money doing this.
What does he do?
For supplements.
So he sells supplements?
Yes.
And it was his business? Mm-hmm. Not
Yes.
Yes. Did he ever mention a guy, Scott, to you?
No.
It was his business?
Yes.
And he said that his parents had helped him out in the past, had invested with him in the past. So now I understand a little bit better. I see the withdrawal for $10,000. So tell me why he needed a hard money loan.
To buy the product to take to these festivals and...
Sell them.
Sell them, yes.
Okay.
So he needed it for product.
And when did he tell you that he was going to return this money?
Within a week or two. That it was a week or two of festivals. This was the busy season. He does this every year, and this is a for sure return. And if I did this much amount of money, $5,000, this is how much I'd get back. If I did $10,000, it would be a $15,000 return for me. And I'm like, wow, I could pay off my student loans. I could, yes, do a lot with that.
Okay, so to synthesize what you told me, he told you that this was an investment in his company.
A loan.
A loan, excuse me. A loan for his company for products so that he could go out, sell them for the next several weeks,
Correct.
and you would get a return of 15% on your money.
50%. So a 10...
50? 50? Sounds too good to be true.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with the company.
The Venmo transfer of $2,000 was to him in June?
June 16th of 21.
And a withdrawal of $8,000.
Same day.
Okay. Now, where did you put that money, sir?
I gave it to Scott.
Okay. Okay. I want to tell you, Mr. Sorensen, you have parents who gave you money?
They have in the
Just a
past,
second.
not as you would
so you
say.
have parents
Not in,
that gave you money.
They did not ever give me money for my business ever.
What did they give you money for?
Christmas? They never financed for me for anything in my life. Okay. Nothing.
Oh, then you lied
about. I don't know why she would make up that story that my parents gave me.
No. She's not making up the story. You're making up the story.
Okay.
And if I'm wrong about this, I actually don't feel badly, sir, because then you're the dope that got duped.
Oh, absolutely. I know.
Then, just a second. That if you gave money to John, to Scott, then you're the dope that got duped because they were your friends. That's all I have to tell you.
I understand.
That's all. A judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $10,000. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I think it was It was fair.
I think that was a fair judgment.
We both understood what we were getting into.
No, not until after like 3 or 4 months, and I think he brought that up in fear of me going to the police.
Time to part ways, and definitely learning curves on both ends.
Don't do silly things. It was definitely a learning curve.
I'm glad that things happened the way they did.
Something I'll never do again. Be a little more careful with your money and your investments, and don't trust everybody. I'm too trusting.
I just find it very funny that his entire business venture, was selling illegal drugs at festivals. That was the only plan. That was the whole venture. There was no...
That's really what he said.
Whether it was Scott, whether it was John, whether it was
But that
Joe.
was the business plan. That's Happy Pills. Thank you, by the way, for explaining what that was to me.
I didn't understand at first either, but when he said Molly at festivals, it's like, I'm pretty sure that's illegal. I'm pretty sure that's not a business.
Right.
So I'm glad she got her money back.
Me too. Me too. It was ridiculous.
There was a couple dopes getting duped in that.
Yeah. Case 2107, Breland versus Chanel. All parties, please step forward.
Kashana and Michael Breland are suing Kashana's stepdad, Harry Schnall, for car repairs and damage credit.
Miss Breland, this is your stepfather.
Yes.
That's your dad.
Yes.
This is your claim. He needed a car because his car, which was an old Cadillac, was going in for repair. Your dad had bought you a car in 2018.
Yes.
And when he bought you this car in 2018, it was a 2013 car that you kept 18, 19, and 20?
The vehicle? No, I had the vehicle from 2018 to July 2019.
So just for 1 year?
Yep, July in 2019 was when I made the agreement to give the vehicle to...
Okay. You made the agreement to give it to your stepfather with a proviso because you were buying a new car, another car.
Yes.
According to you, that he would take over the payments on the car because there was a loan on the car that you were paying off and that your father was a signatory on.
Yes.
And you have children, and I don't know why this car was no good for you anymore, but you said you got another car because of your children.
Yes, I got another vehicle because I had an additional son, and it just wasn't enough room for 3 kids.
What kind of car is it?
It was a GMC Terrain. It's an SUV 5-passenger, but I felt like I needed a little bit more room, so I ended up getting a 7-passenger. That way I could have the 3rd row.
Okay. So according to you, the arrangement was he would take over the payments on the car, and the car would be turned over to him as soon as he finished making the payments on the car.
Yes.
Was that your agreement with him?
Yes, that was our agreement.
And he did make payments on the car in 2019, 2020, 2021, and according to you, he stopped making payments in 2022. What month in 2022?
January 2022 was the last payment I received.
As a result of which, both of your credits were at risk. He dropped the car off at some relative's house because the engine was blown. He had it towed to some relative's house and stopped making the payments.
Yes, that is correct.
Your stepfather says, well, that really wasn't the agreement. My Cadillac wasn't working. It was in the shop in 2019. And the agreement was, while the car was in the shop, I would use your car and pay you $225 a month for it. But as soon as my car was out of the shop, you would take the car back. That's what you say, sir.
Yes. Yeah, I would take it back until my car got fixed. And the only reason it took so long to get fixed because of the pandemic, And
why? People couldn't go into their garage to fix a car?
Yes, they probably could, but at that time, I really didn't have the money to go and pay for it, so I just
Well, that's your problem.
I understand that.
Well, that's your problem. So the car was fixed, but you didn't have the money to go and pick up the car.
No, it wasn't fixed.
Oh.
So I didn't have them fix it until I'd be able to get the money to go have it fixed.
Did you explain that to her, sir, when she gave you the car?
No. See, my agreement thought I was going to keep the car until my car gets fixed and I would make the monthly payment. That's what I had.
I understand that, but what... Yeah. I understand that.
Okay.
Mr. Chanel.
Yes.
But taking your story, if my stepfather said to me, listen, I'll take your car. I have a car that's in the shop. I'll use it and pay for it while the car's being fixed.
Not what?
In my view, that would be, well, maybe it would take you 2 weeks. Maybe it would take you a month. Maybe it would take you 2 months. But it wouldn't take you 3 years.
Your Honor, what I'm saying, my car wasn't in the shop. My car was broke down. And I told her, I thought we had agreement to me make the payment on that car till I get ready to get
You
my
told me
car,
that already.
car fixed. But I didn't put it in the shop till I was able to put it in the shop to get fixed.
You devalued her car while you had it.
Yeah, okay.
You devalued the car. You got a car that was running. You used the car for 2.5 years that was running. It stopped running because the engine was blown.
Yes.
So it was dead stop. You had to have it towed to somebody's house.
Yes.
And then you stopped making the payments on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying.
Right.
I think she had a lemon because...
She didn't have a lemon. You drove it for 2 years.
Yes, but I just had got the oil changed in that car a month before the engine blew.
And you drove it for 2 years.
Yes.
Well, then it wasn't a lemon.
While Mary was planning everyone else's love life, she didn't have one of her own.
Mary, meet my parents.
You give my little girl whatever she wants.
This is Mary, the wedding planner. You cannot sacrifice your entire career over this. I can do this. I can plan this wedding.
What you have is cold feet.
And that's just what I'm gonna do. Because I love a challenge. And because I am a professional.
Kashana and Michael Breland claim Kashana's stepdad, Harry Schnall, owes for car repairs and damage credit.
Now, you have to act not only responsibly, but it would seem to me morally. This is your stepdaughter. You've known her for a long time.
Yes.
She went out, based upon her agreement with you, she went out and bought another car.
Yes.
Does the other car have a loan?
Yes.
Well, now she's stuck with 2 loans. And one of them has a car that you blew the engine on.
I made sure the main was up on that car. I think she had a lemon because...
She didn't have a lemon. You drove it for 2 years.
Yes, but I kept... Well, I just had got the oil changed in that car a month before the engine blew. I don't know why the engine blew.
How many years did you have the car?
2 years.
And you drove it for 2 years.
Yes.
Well, then it wasn't a lemon.
Okay.
How much was left on the loan of the car?
There is still $3,752.63 owed left on the vehicle.
Okay, and where is the car now?
It is parked at a relative's house.
Your problem is the car is in your name. So you have to sell the car, subject to this lien. You have to be able to get something for the car. Do you understand?
Yes.
What's the value of that car?
Based on 80,000 miles, it didn't say in the papers, but around 7,000 to 9,000.
And what if it's in very poor condition?
I have to look into it.
Take a look and see, because this car so far is not running.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been running for almost now a year.
Yes, that's correct.
So at best you can sell it for scrap. So you have to get the car and you can scrap it because nobody's going to buy it when they can't drive it.
So Kelley Blue Book will not provide an estimate for poor conditions, vehicles that are not running or in poor condition. But for a fair condition, they say between 5,000 and 6,000.
Well, this is non-running.
I know.
I've been
So
not running for a year.
I can't get an estimate for a non-running vehicle from Kelley Blue Book.
So now I know what the parameters are. You want to tell me about where this agreement took place with your stepfather?
The agreement took place at the car lots because I was in the middle of getting a new vehicle, so we were at the car lot.
So that was in 2019?
July 3rd, 2019.
So you went with him to get the new car?
Yes.
Oh, good. So tell me about the conversation.
So I asked him, I was like, hey, do you think that, because in order for me to get this new vehicle, they said that I had a debt to income ratio thing because I couldn't get a new vehicle with owing money on the other vehicle. So I said, hey, how does this sound? You're down a vehicle because the engine blew on your prior vehicle. How about I give you this car, you finish making the payments on it, and then I get my new vehicle. But in order for me to get my new vehicle, I needed a co-signer. So I said, how about this? How about you co-sign on this new vehicle for me? Yes, my stepfather. You co-sign on this new vehicle for me. I'll make the payments like I always do. And you just take over the payments on my GMC Terrain. He said, okay, yep, we can do that because I need another vehicle.
So he is the co-signatory on your new car?
That at the time, that was the vehicle that I had. I now have a different vehicle.
You mean in 2019 you had yet another car?
Yes. But I made sure that I paid it off and there was no effect to him by any means.
Okay.
Because I knew that, it wasn't just in my name, it was in his name also. So I didn't want to do that to him. So I made sure that not only did I pay the vehicle off, but I got the transmission repaired and then I sold it.
So what does your father have to do with this case?
So my father was affected because with the payments being late.
The car was in my name also.
Oh, so it was in joint
Yes, on the
names, you and your
title.
daughter.
Well, they were supposed to put it as me, the co-signer, but they put me as
The primary.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Have you been making the payments since January?
I was making payments on it from February to September.
And then what happened?
I couldn't afford to make the payments anymore. I'm a single mom of four kids.
So what happened?
So it's behind now.
Since September?
Yep, it's behind since.
September, October, November. So it's
Yep.
behind 3 months.
Yes.
Had they notified you that they want to repossess it?
They haven't
not
noted.
repo. They've given us options to try to save our credit after
Okay, I'd like to see what those options are. Did they send it
What?
to you in writing?
No.
Did they send
No,
you
it
a
was
letter?
verbal on the phone when they called, and we were discussing other options that they may offer to
Okay, so
make
what was the
this so
best
it's not
option
worse.
that they offered you?
The best option that they offered was basically to come up with about $396 to pay to get the car note caught up because it was 4 months behind. The car note's $225 each month. So it wouldn't have got...
So they didn't offer you a whole payout. They just offered you
to catch up.
To catch up.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. But still, what's due and owing on the car is $3,752.
Yes.
Okay. And when your stepfather agreed to that, did he say anything to you with regard to his Cadillac going in for service and he was going to just use it until his Cadillac got...
No, Your Honor, that is incorrect.
Okay. You remember going with your stepdaughter when she was purchasing a new car in 2019?
Yes, I do.
Did you co-sign that car for her?
Yes.
So far what she says is accurate.
Yes.
And at that time, did you take her old car?
Yes.
I have no idea what you can get for this car. And you know how you relied on him to be a good guy and to do what he was supposed to do?
Yes.
I'm awarding you $3,752. That's for you to pay off the bank. Then I don't think you can find a buyer for this car. You may have to scrap it, right?
Yes.
It's possible that there's no point in fixing it. You're not going to invest thousands of dollars in fixing it when it probably is at best worth $5,000. And if it's going to cost you $3,000 to try to get it up and running, it doesn't pay. It doesn't pay. So I'm going to rely on you to do the right thing. It sounds as if you do that while I'm awarding you $3,752, whatever money you get for the car goes to him. Do you understand? If you scrap it for $70, he gets it. I don't see that it's worth much more. I certainly wouldn't invest in a car that's been sitting dead for a year with a blown engine. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,752. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
I think it was pretty fair.
I think it was very fair.
My agreement, though, I paid for the car until I get my car fixed.
I've tried multiple times to reach out to him, and I couldn't get a hold of him, so it's really sad that it had to come to this.
You had to do what you had to do. That's all I can say.
I've learned that you can't help anyone, not even family.
Time to move on. Go on about my business, yes.
I'm a nice person, so I guess you just sometimes can't be nice to everyone.
You know what's so disappointing? She seems like a very lovely young lady. Her father seems like a nice man. He had actually helped to purchase the first car, and I think co-signed a loan for her or bought her the car in 2018 that she then turned over to him. But he's been her stepfather for a long time. How could you be so irresponsible?
And you know she's a single parent of 4 children who relies a lot on her credit.
And her credit on her car.
And
she's maintained her credit.
Yes, except for the fact that her stepfather sort of ruined it for her a little.
He really didn't have a defense.
No.
I don't think he had a defense. I don't think that you borrow somebody's car until your car is fixed 3 years later. I don't think that's a defense.
Mm-hmm.